All right.
Ready.
So, AGA Podcast number 7. We got our guest today, along with, obviously, with Melissa, we got Kelly Stratoti. And yes,
Stratoti, is that how you say
I
it?
had to ask, too.
I'm always like
Yeah.
Stratoti.
I just tell people, I'm like, add an E after the O, and I promise you'll probably say it
Yeah.
right.
Stratoti.
Yeah.
I'll never
Stratoti.
remember the E after the O. I'll just
Yeah.
remember how to say it, and that's it.
Well, you know what? When you graduate and they make you spell out your name so they don't say it wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only thing I do, and they're like, ah.
Do you have to put one of those little whoop-de-doos on the end of the E?
No.
What are those called?
I think the worst I've ever gotten was Stromboli. I don't even know how they
It's
got
not.
it.
It's like
It's not a hyphen. What is it?
I don't know.
The accent mark.
Yeah. An accent.
Is that what it
See,
is?
that's how we got Kelly. She's the smart one.
I like a whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. I like the
Whoop-de-doo is
whoop-de-doo.
more
Yeah,
fun.
a
so.
whoop-de-doo.
Oh my god.
So, all right. So, yeah, I'm going to have to put on my glasses to see. So, all right. So, today's topic,
Showing your age.
we're
Chris.
going to, it is. Hey, man, I'm old.
Oh my god.
We're going to talk about why do people decide to do CrossFit. Okay. We're going to look into, like, what is their why when they start getting goals. Do those goals shift and change over time? And can these goals become unrealistic or unreasonable depending on what, they're trying to do? So, but before we get too deep, so gym news.
Gym news. So they're building the wall this weekend for the turf, which means hopefully the wall gets built over the weekend, like the 2 days, but which means the turf is going to be no longer accessible after this weekend. Once they build the wall, they're going to mount the rig. So hopefully by like the end of next week, the wall's built, the rig's mounted, all the floor's going to be opened up in the middle of the gym. The new turf that we're getting is supposed to be delivered on Wednesday of next week. So hopefully by the end of next week as well, the new turf strip will be in.
Where's
And
that
then-
going? In the front?
Yeah,
Where the
so like
rowers
you know
are,
where
right?
the rowers and the weights and like the bikes used to be. There's a 60-foot long, 20-foot wide strip of turf that's going there.
Okay.
So that'll probably be like where everyone walks in. You'll set your stuff down. We're gonna hang some stuff up on the wall. I really hate when things are on the floor, and if that place just collects a lot of dust anyway because it's so much bigger. So we're hanging a bunch of stuff up, but that'll kind of be like the gathering area now too. Since we used to gather in the front, like right where the offices were, we'll probably just keep all our stuff on the turf because we rarely really use the turf.
So the turf thing to you is more of like a open gym thing if somebody wants to push a sled or...
Yeah, like we rarely have sleds in the class workouts. I can count maybe on like 2 hands the times that we've really needed the turf in the last year. But the track team, AAU track, that still wanted to utilize the facility, their only caveat was, hey, we would love to still have some turf for sled pushes and like strength and agility things. And I mean, I like having turf too because I have a lot of sleds in my training as well. So we just wanted to make sure we still had access to it, and also so that people didn't whine that just have to have.
It's off
the
to a
turf, I guess.
softer landing.
It
if
is
you do
softer landing.
handstand walks
Yeah.
if you fall. Just
Yeah, so
It's a different kind of rug burn.
yeah, I don't know. Walking on
Turf
it's going to be
burns
this same turf as in here. It's pretty like
Turf burns up.
scratchy. But yeah, so all that will hopefully be done by next week. And then, so that will put us near the middle of September. And then after that, it's just paint. And we're pretty much like ready to rock and roll.
Who's painting? You paying somebody to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Paint
glad you
party.
didn't have a paint party.
No. Look, I painted the bathrooms. And I still need to finish them. And after I had to paint the lines in here on this like half wall, I told Sam, I was like, I don't care how much it costs. I'll sell my feet pictures on the internet. I do not want to paint those again. Like, I will not. So we're paying someone to paint. And he also like appreciates and values our marriage, so he knows that'll make me insane.
That's good.
So yeah, hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll be done with all the renovations just in time for October 1st. And then after that we'll just like get into our new groove of what the gym's gonna look like, how it's gonna flow, and then we'll have trident games. So that's pretty exciting.
Happened so fast.
I know, it really has.
Like,
Thank God it's gone
so
faster than I
fast.
expected it to. The shower, so here's a funny, I guess. The shower that they bought is the wrong shower.
How's it
And no one told me they
Like
were installing
size-wise,
it yesterday.
or?
So you know how when you walk into the bathroom, it's just like an open square? We wanted to put the shower like in the corner.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get a shower like this, like a
Corner shower.
and then we
Gotcha.
would get a
Just
like
a
a
bar.
lip or
curved
something.
bar,
Okay.
yeah, to like
Yeah.
put a shower curtain up. They bought a like
Square.
half square, or I guess 3/4 square.
Like a U.
So now,
You got to figure out how to.
yeah, otherwise you're going to see the fiberglass of the outside of the shower when you're sitting on the toilet. So now we have to build another wall inside the bathroom to basically just like cover up the fiberglass of the shower. So that got installed yesterday, and I had no idea, and obviously didn't see that it was the wrong shower until
It's funny
too
that
late.
you say it because I literally looked at that yesterday when I was using the bathroom. I'm like, I wonder what kind of wall they're going to build to cover that up.
Because you know
Yeah.
I'm going to cover it up. I can't stand
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so there's been a couple of things like that in the whole process. But overall, like, nothing too terrible. I can't really complain. And it's gone a lot faster than we expected. So that's all good stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing else big.
Nothing else big right now that I can think of.
We got a new coach.
We got a new coach, Christian Maples. Everyone loves him. I swear it was like I was talking to the president. Like, people just love this guy. And he is a great coach. I've been able to be in 2 of his classes so far because I didn't really know him outside of, like, the things that I've heard. So, and I think he's a great coach and has some great cues. I know a lot of people are excited to have him. So, he's supposed to be coaching Tuesday nights here at AGA Harborview, and he'll be coaching a couple of Saturdays here and there. So if you don't know him, try to get to one of his classes, get to know him. He's a really, really good gym to have. So I'm excited about that.
Yep, he's a good dude. I'm glad. Good friend, too.
Yeah.
Glad to have him back around. So, all right. So before we go, of course, would you rathers, right? I actually got a couple good ones.
So
I
excited.
was like, literally, like, what are they going to ask today?
Trust me,
these.
I have them toned down because I found some that are pretty bad.
Do you like Google these? Like, where do you
Yeah.
find
Like
them?
inappropriate?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Big time. Big time.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. All right. First one is, would you rather fight in a fight club once a month or be in a book club every day?
Oh my gosh, I'd rather be in a book club.
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah, I like reading.
Are you reading a book a day, or are you reading like a chapter? Like,
I
it
don't-
can be like
Yeah,
you're not reading
yeah.
a whole book a day.
I like reading.
Let's say a 1-hour book club
You
every
want a
day.
fight club, don't you?
Yeah, you would.
I knew it,
100%.
I knew it.
I would rather be punched in the face once a month.
Then read every day?
Yes. Yeah.
You probably read every day
You're gonna
without
be reading every day
realizing
for the level 3.
Yes,
So what is
yes.
I'd rather join the fight club.
Oh my god.
I feel like you just want to have more fun.
Oh my god.
You just also want to punch people.
Well, have you ever been punched in
Yeah.
the face?
No.
Okay, it's
I'm
not
too
fun.
nice.
Yeah, I would
People,
know.
if you're punching me, like, I've really messed up.
That's like my favorite quote, too. Everybody
Yeah,
has a
has a
plan until they
plan.
get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Look, I've had some workouts.
What
that made me
movie
feel
was
like
that
I got
in?
punched
It was
in the
Mike
face.
Tyson said that.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was in a movie too.
I
but
think he
saw
said
it.
in an interview at the end of a fight one time.
That's right. He
in his
did.
Mike Tyson
Everybody
voice.
has a plan until you get punched in the face.
until you get punched
Yeah, I definitely do book club. I'm kind of
Yeah.
like a like I'm a nerd. I could have been.
Yes.
I literally could have been a professional student.
Yeah?
Like
Aw.
because I just the amount of stuff that's out there that you can learn
Mm-hmm.
and like absorb, and then also, I mean, college was great.
Yeah.
So,
That's why you're so smart, Kelly.
Yeah.
That's why Kelly's smarter than the rest of us.
All right, next one is, would you rather have
Oh,
a
God.
dog-sized hamster or a hamster-sized dog? So you either got a dog like tiny you can put in your hand, or like imagine your Labrador,
Oh my God.
the size, but it's a hamster. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I want the hamster-sized dog.
So
Yeah.
if we could have hamster-sized dogs,
Yeah.
could we have dogs in the gym?
Yeah, you know what? You
It's
wouldn't
just
even
running
notice their
around.
hair.
you-
Yeah.
they would have their own bag. Like
Yeah.
they would be carrying them in.
Yeah.
I could have at least
Go to
5 of those.
go to
Yeah.
Japan. They
Really?
treat their dogs like they have strollers for their
Oh my
dogs,
gosh.
and they like push them everywhere. It's
I mean, I love my dogs, but I ain't pushing them nowhere.
All right.
A hamster-sized
hamster-sized dog. I would do that.
Really?
Or no, wait,
Oh,
dog
wait,
size.
no, hamster-sized dog. You're right,
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
dog-sized
that's
hamster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what?
All
What
right.
are you talking about?
Now for this
rodent?
next one, you got to put yourself back in your
Wait,
position.
what would you want?
Oh, absolutely hamster-sized dog. A dog-sized hamster would
That is
freak
scary.
me out.
That is ridiculous.
That's huge.
Because I don't like rodents, period, because I feel
Yeah.
like they're always going to bite
It'd
me.
be like that, gosh, what's that guy in that movie that turns into a rat and always has his two, I'm going to figure it out. It reminds me of that guy.
I don't know. Sounds like some Harry Potter stuff.
It is a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
What's the Harry Potter, Sam, where the guy turns into a rat?
Look at Sam. Leave me out of
He
this.
has the big teeth like,
That's a rat.
what's
Yeah.
his name? I'm going to pull up a picture. It's because that's what I think of. I would look at that thing and be like, that man is about to transform.
If you figure
right
it out,
now.
let me know, and I'll put it on the video to pop
Oh
up
my
so you know what
God.
it's talking
Oh
about.
my
All right.
God.
I found a couple good ones. All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
So this one for you, Melissa, you got to put yourself back in a position of you don't own the gym. You're back at your old job. So you have a boss, right?
Oof,
Because you're your
okay.
own boss right now.
I do have a boss. He's back there.
No, you're the boss. Stop. All right. If you accidentally sent a dirty picture, would you rather have it go to your dad or your boss?
Oh my God.
My boss.
My boss.
Really?
1000%.
My boss. 1,000%. Yes.
Peter Pettigrew. Yes.
I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, so I wouldn't know.
I would
I'm not
rather
a-
go to my
yeah.
boss.
You'd rather go to your
Oh
boss?
my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. My
Yeah.
dad, I'm like his only daughter. That would ruin him.
Same. That's not, no.
I'd rather go to my dad. He don't care. My dad's crazy. He's
Yeah, but what if
nutcase.
it went to your mom?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Oof.
Because
Nah.
what boss are we talking? Because I sure as hell don't want it to go to you.
But I also feel like it's different because, like, as a mother,
I'd act
a
like I
mother
never saw
and a
it.
son versus like a father and a
Yeah.
daughter. It's like
Yeah.
a very different relationship.
Yep.
So
Oh no,
Yeah.
my boss, my old boss, would like he would definitely make fun of me, but he would laugh and then be like, "Don't ever send anything like that."
I do not want to go to HR. Thank you.
exactly.
Like, we will not bring this up again.
All right.
Oh man,
Would you rather have no sense of smell or no sense of taste?
Smell.
Smell. But you can't. No, you know what? I take that back. You can't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can't taste without smelling. So like if you hold your nose and you taste something, or eat something, you can't taste it. But it doesn't matter.
Technically.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. You're getting
Okay.
pretty emotional about this.
If you don't like, if for instance, when you don't like something, like you take a pill that's nasty, you hold your nose and you can't taste it, right?
Yeah, but that's a pill.
So I think I would rather still not have sense of smell, because imagine being able to smell pizza and then never get to taste it.
That's a
You
good
feel me?
point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
I
do
just
that.
said I said no smell because
I don't want to smell baby diapers. I don't want to smell people's feet.
that was the one thing when I was pregnant.
Ooh, were you like really sensitive to smell?
I literally, like, my supervisor, I could walk our office for the gym was
Yeah.
this big, and his office was back there.
And you could
and I'd be like, baby powder cologne, who's wearing it? Why are you wearing it? And he'd be like,
Change
and
your shirt
it was
now.
like, and I'd be like, who's having tacos for lunch? Where's the lemons or the lime? Like, I smell it. He was like, bro,
God.
food inspector, what are you doing? And
Damn.
I'm
Not the
like,
FDA.
like those few weeks, it was like the food had to be already made, and I just had to scarf it down because if I smelled it, it was not
Wow,
good. Like, it was
Kelly.
super sensitive. And it's even now sometimes like sensitive. I'm like,
Yeah.
I smell stuff, and I'm like Clorox wipes, and especially I don't know if it happens to you when you work out. When you work out, if somebody like brings in food or wipes,
Ooh,
do you
it
like
gets me
does
messed
it get
up.
yeah like does
A
it
little
you
bit,
like really
yeah.
sensitive?
Yeah.
I do. I'm like I smell it. I'm like, oh my gosh, please stop, please stop, please stop.
All right. You want a borderline inappropriate one? I'll give you one more.
I want to know what your answer is. No smell or no taste.
Oh, I'm going no smell. Same thing. Yeah, I wouldn't want it because
Okay.
your pizza thing sold it for me.
Yeah, that was
come on,
definitely
I like
good.
pizza.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like.
that was good. Yeah.
Imagine. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that'd be a travesty.
You're smelling
Yeah.
everything that's good, and you can't actually like
Yeah.
fully enjoy it. Yes, I correct.
Yeah,
That's,
it's not the
Okay,
same.
what's
All
the
right,
borderline
one last one. I don't
inappropriate
think I've
one?
asked anybody this one before. All right.
oh god.
I'm scared.
Would
I don't
you?
know if I can look you in the eye.
Would you? I don't know if I can look you in the eye when I say it. All right. Would you rather walk in on your parents having sex
Oh,
or your
God.
parents walk in on you having
Oh
sex?
God, I'd rather walk in on my parents. That's easy. I can't. I don't. Absolutely not.
Parents are divorced. So-
Ooh, 2 cents. Oh no.
yeah. I guess
Are they both remarried?
no.
Oh.
And that could be easy. That could be better for you. Like whoever's.
Fly in here. No, I was gonna say you have to walk in on both now.
Oh God, no.
Oh my god. I don't. My parents, I guess.
Look, this is a lose-lose situation.
It
You're
is a
just picking what's
lose-lose.
worst.
Yeah, I would.
Worst.
I would probably
Worst.
worst. I would probably go with yes, walking in on my parents.
Yeah, I don't. I couldn't.
That's what I'd pick only because it happened to me when I was a kid anyway. So it'd be like
Yeah, it's the same
like a
thing.
rerun. I'm like, yep.
Oh my god.
Get it together.
You're like still using the same moves, Dad. All right, as long as it's working.
Oh my god.
They've been happily
so
married. Leave them
funny.
alone, you know.
So funny.
Okay, that wasn't
my
terrible.
God.
That was.
No.
That wasn't horrible.
But there's some pretty crude ones in there that
I believe it.
yeah, you just Google them. You gotta Google
my
adult.
God.
Would you rather?
Yeah.
And they're like,
And then you have to cipher through.
These have to be in like a game, like Cards Against Humanity
Yes,
stuff.
yes, yes,
like
I'm
for
sure they
sure.
are. I'm sure
it
they
has
are.
to be.
All right, let's roll. So, I think a lot of people don't even realize Kelly's coaching here.
Yeah.
I don't coach that much yet.
Kelly's
so.
actually
She will be.
CrossFit level
Just like
3
getting your
coach.
toe in the water.
Level 2 Olympic lifting coach, right?
Yeah, correct.
college graduate. Well, I'll let you go into the details of that. And interesting, you actually competed at the Pan Am Games in Ollie, right?
Yes,
That's
correct.
Which will be cool to hear about. So, let's get right into it. Let's talk about you. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so born in Philadelphia. Grew up right outside Philadelphia in Drexel Hill, Upper Darby area. My parents got divorced when I was young, so grew up in that area. So parents got divorced, no siblings, only child. I guess that's a good thing and a bad thing, but you know.
I know. I'm an only child too. Don't feel bad, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I just I grew up with my cousins, so that was
Yeah.
nice. You know, I had my mom. My mom was one of 8. My dad was one of 3, so I had plenty of cousins to grow up with. But like now, when I have my son, I'm like, we need one more. And my husband's like, no, we're good. I think we're good. And I'm like, no, but we move every 3 to 5 years because of the Navy. He doesn't have any. Like, I feel like so bad, and I'm like, just think about it.
We'll revisit. We'll revisit.
So, grew up there 18 years, playing sports probably since I was 4. I don't know. My mom signed me up the first thing she could get me into.
Yeah.
She was our soccer coach.
Yeah.
She was like,
Was that your sport with soccer?
No.
No.
She was bad because she was like, we went and they needed a coach. And they were like, does anybody want to volunteer? And you grabbed my arm and just threw it up. And I was like, what the? And I was like,
Dude.
Me?
Yeah.
First of all, I think every kid gets thrown into soccer to start.
because it's one of the younger things
It's
you
easy,
can start in.
right.
I told her I started my son in gymnastics last month at 18
Yeah,
months.
that's,
I was
that's a
like,
big one.
And I'm not a huge baseball guy, but same thing happened to me. The kids were playing t-ball.
Yeah.
And I got sucked into coaching t-ball, and I'm like,
How did this happen?
why am I here?
you know. But so I started. I probably with soccer. I tried gymnastics.
Yeah.
Wasn't my jam. I know
Leotards
you said you were
were
like
my thing.
leotard.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I think mine was at the YMCA, so it probably wasn't as like rigorous
Yeah.
as like a regular gymnastics place. So I probably got bored. I'm a Gemini, so I did get bored easily. So did that, and then golf. I played golf in college. So
Did you really?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a lot of stuff people be like.
So was that the sport in high school you gravitated to? You were competing in golf?
Yeah, so I started when I was 8. My dad was like, I just took you to the driving range to see, and you were just having a ball. So we went
My
back.
dad would love hearing this. My dad was a golf pro, like
Yeah.
obsessed
Really?
with golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
he wanted me to play so bad.
Like your dad was a legit golf pro, like the club pro?
That's tough, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
He when he was younger, he got a full ride to Florida for golf. Ended up total side note, won't go into the full story. Ended up leaving after his freshman year to open up a bar with his dad. So
Nice.
rock on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Nice. But yeah, it's,
Worked out okay.
to be a pro, like you have to shoot basically at par or below and then
Oh
take
my
a
gosh,
test.
Kelly, we'll go
it's
out now,
tough.
and he's like, "Oh, I played so poorly."
And he
It's like
shot like a
78.
77?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, get out of here.
Don't
You're
worry.
like, I don't
we're
have
all
any
hard
balls
on
left. They're gone, and they're in
Yeah,
the
and you're
freaking
like,
woods.
you're
Yeah.
Well,
getting-
3 sleeves of balls. They're all gone. I'm like the whole 9. It's okay.
Bless her.
So then I played golf in high school, and I was a multi-sport athlete. So we had indoor track in high school and outdoor. So yeah, it was funny because I didn't know. I learned a lot of stuff about Eric in like a very short time period. That he works at the shipyard with me, but then he wore a Kutztown shirt, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
grew
he's
up
from
close
there.
to there, yeah. And so that's where our indoor meets were. We're at Kutztown. So
That's what a small world.
yeah, I
love
know,
that.
right? So we had indoor and outdoor track, and I pole vaulted. So I was a distance runner, and I probably should have stuck with it because I ran like a 5:30-ish minute mile, like in
What do you run now?
sophomore year. I don't even want to tell you.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Strike that from the podcast.
Double it.
And then I was just
Double
like,
it.
but you know, like you don't just run a mile at practice. You're running like 5 miles to build it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to do this every day. So that's when I started pole vaulting. And then, so I did golf in the fall and then pole vault pretty much the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then I was a walk-on in college. There was 2 schools in South Carolina, Winthrop and Coastal. My mom was like, you're not going to Coastal. She asked that real quick.
Coastal Carolina, let's go.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
big
Party school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as soon as we went down to visit, and we did them in one shot because we're driving down from PA, and she was like, "Yeah, you're not going here." And I
Any
was
reason
like,
you wouldn't pick South Carolina just because of the golf, or
well, so ironically, Kutztown offered me a full ride, and
Oh,
my parents were
cool.
like, "Go, go," and
Yeah.
I'm like, I
wanna
am
be
getting
here.
away from this place.
That's fair.
Like, I didn't like hate Philadelphia. It's just, I guess in my head, I look at it kind of like the Navy with my husband. I'm like, it's like a vacation. Like, I'm going to
Yeah,
go
this
to
is something
school
new.
and I'm going to do work,
Right.
but I can get something out of it in
Yeah.
the same time. And so I was looking at Coastal, and then we visited, and my mom was like, no. You're like your father. You're going to be at the beach every day. We're not coming here. You're never going to do any schoolwork. So I was like, okay. So then we went to Winthrop. And I will say, once we stepped on
I
Winthrop's
did
campus.
not know you went to Winthrop.
That's why I know all, like, you're from South Carolina. I was like, I know
Yes.
pretty much everywhere in South Carolina.
I'm writing this down.
So I visited Winthrop, and honestly, that was it. She didn't even need to tell me. We visited Coastal first, but when I
Yeah.
got on campus, I was like, it just kind of felt like home, and I was like, this is it. And then we went to go visit the coach, and he was running behind for something, and one of the basketball players was like shooting around, and his dad was like in the NBA, so like he just finished and he came out and he just sat out and talked to me and my mom for like 30 minutes about
that's
like why
nice.
going to what, you know, and it was like, okay, like it was
And
a
from a
smaller
student's
school.
perspective,
Yeah,
too.
well, it was a smaller school too. Like my high school was a 5,000 student body high school. I had 1,100 kids.
Wow.
when I graduated.
Wow.
Yeah, sitting through graduation on a hot football field
God
in the middle
bless.
of June with all them names. I mean, I was in National Honor Society, so I got my diploma first, but I'm like, I'm ready to go.
You
bro.
better walk
like,
off.
let me off this football field. So I had at least 40 kids in my class at all times, so I was ready to go to
That's
a smaller
crazy.
school. And so that was it. And I was actually an elementary ed major. And this girl on my hall that I met at move-in was an athletic training major, and I didn't know what athletic training was. We didn't have an athletic trainer in high school. We had this guy that showed up for football games on Friday nights, and that's about it. So other sports are not that important. And
They don't bring in the money. Come on, Kelly.
right? God, man. So I was like, so I would be in her room and I'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd be looking at her homework and I'm like, screw my homework. So
Let me help with yours.
So I was like, wait a minute. So I get to be like, so for those that, most people I think feel like know what athletic trainers are, but some people get them confused with personal trainers. The best analogy I can give is when you're watching a professional game and somebody gets hurt and you see that little person run out on the field. That's me. Like I'm emergent medical care for athletes, and I can do like rehab, like we work with orthos and physical therapists and everything. So I was more interested in that, so I switched majors to that.
Did you do that your freshman year? Did you switch pretty soon, or?
Yeah, after freshman, I think it was like mid-freshman year. After freshman year, I was like done. Like, we're not staying in elementary ed. I'm good. I like teaching, because don't get me wrong, eventually I did start to teach high school, but athletic training, I was like, man, I get to still be around sports and not be at a desk all day. Like, I get to walk around, and like I said, I get bored easily, and so seasons change, sports change every season, so it's different. It keeps me on my toes, So I did that. So I played golf at Winthrop, and then they got a new coach from LSU, and as most people know, when you get a new coach in college, they usually get rid of the old team that the old coach recruited and bring in their newbies. So most of us kind of got the axe or left, and so
were you working with all the major sports teams as a student?
Yeah, so our advisor, I still have her cell phone number, Dr. McLean. She's like freaking awesome. She'd be like, okay, so you need to remember, like, she tried to work with the athletes, because there were a lot of athletes in that field, in that major, and she'd be like, so just remember, you're with track and field now. But when you go to your meets, there's a time when you're an athlete, and then you have to take that hat off and put on your athletic training hat, and so she was a really good instructor. So like I will forever appreciate her, and just like the life lessons she taught as well. But so I worked. You have to do a football rotation, which we didn't have football in Winthrop, so I had to go to a local high school, and I did that my senior year. I went to Northwestern High School and worked there. You have to do a lower body extremity intensive, upper body extremity intensive, and then like you kind of like repeat one. And you do like a gen med, so I had to work at like an urgent care 24-hour. It was like, it's funny though, because you go to ortho and stuff, or like gen med and urgent care, and they're like, oh, this is like ortho, you can take it. I'll just be in the back. And I'm like, okay.
I'm a student.
Like the guy, so it was,
I barely know my name.
It's fun. It was fun though. They're pretty. It's fun. But I mean, if I were, but I will say,
you got something on your fit. Yeah, I can't let you go through the whole podcast like that.
So
You should have just let me.
oh my god! But I will say like.
Poop or anything.
You literally just licked it off, and
And
then
it was for my shake here.
Oh my god!
You
I can't
hope.
deal.
you hope.
Look.
Anyway, sorry,
I
Kelly.
know you're good.
Rein
I
us
can't
back in,
deal.
rein us
Oh my
It's a little more
god!
professional around here,
Oh my
but
god, it's so funny. No,
poop
it's fine.
liquor over here.
So, which I mean, like I said, like that was fine for me because I was older. Like I was in my senior year or like junior year, so I had more knowledge. But had that been my freshman year, sophomore year, I'd been like, bro, I don't know
Yeah.
anything. You can step in. So did that, and then I went to grad school after that because I don't know. When I grew up, at least probably in you and like maybe I mean you went to the Navy, but our parents were like go to school like get you more
I was
money,
part of
blah,
that
blah, blah,
generation that everybody was like, you don't want to work for a living, go to school, go to school.
yeah, so and
still
then
do?
that was well by the time we graduated that's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So right, so I was like, well, let me go to grad school. And my advisor said that she was like, go to grad school, but don't major in athletic training. Like, get a degree that's somewhat comparable. So I got it in administration, so I can kind of do like education administration. I could do healthcare administration, so that way I can be marketable in different areas.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I got a graduate assistantship there. So meaning I worked as an athletic trainer for the school, and they paid for my schooling, housing, all that stuff.
And where was that at?
Tennessee Tech in
Okay.
Cookeville.
Nice.
Yeah, so I worked with football, track and field, women's soccer. When I was in the training room, I pretty much worked with most of the athletes that came in for treatments and stuff. But
And they
yeah.
actually have an Ollie program there too.
Yeah, so right now Matt Hewitt runs the program because I don't know if he's like with HWPO, but he like that's technically when I officially got introduced to CrossFit. I just didn't really know it. So
Because isn't he Rich Froning's cousin or something?
yeah. So when I got to grad school, the weightlifting coach Chip Pugh he was actually my weightlifting coach at Winthrop, and he just ended up going there the same year I went there, and
Weightlifting for like sport, right? Not like
Yeah,
sport.
correct.
Okay,
Like, you know-
just making sure.
yeah. So this is for like to like coach Division I athletes.
Right.
And so he had a class, I think all like even if you worked in, because our head athletic trainer had to teach like a class even though we didn't have a program. So I think as a part of their contract, so Chip had to teach like a CSCS class. So I took it, and you had to, a part of his class, you had to like shadow or go see some of the workouts. And so I went. One of them I remember, I went to like a baseball workout, and he was like, all right, partner up. And he was like, all right, you got 300 pull-ups, 200, da-da-da-da. And I was like, looking at him like, bro. And
You're sending them to
and
us
they're not
later.
doing, like, and these baseball players are not doing kipping. They're doing strict. They're just like,
my
boom,
gosh.
boom, boom. And I'm like, yeah, I can do like 5. Okay. So, but he wouldn't call it CrossFit. And ironically, like if you watch an interview with him and like, or Elijah Muhammad, he's like, we overlapped. Him and Rich were there when I was there. I was a graduate and they were undergrad. And so Elijah stayed to study with Chip in like grad school, and his interview, he's like, Chip will tell you like you can go to these meetings but you can't say you're doing CrossFit because like the people in NSCA and stuff, it was early like 2010.
Yeah, CrossFit had a bad rep to begin with.
And so they were like, you can't say it's CrossFit because they're gonna look at you like differently and they're not gonna take you as seriously and stuff like that. So and so I didn't know, he didn't tell us in class probably for that purpose.
Right.
But that's technically when I got introduced to it. I just didn't know. And so I was there for 2 years. And I mean, like, bro, Cookeville, like, I don't know what it's like now because I have not been back. And I know Mayhem is, like, massive, which I would not doubt. My rent was $400 when I went to school there. So, like, I mean, they just got a movie theater in 2007. So it's not... It wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
So, like,
And what year was this you were there?
I was there 2007 to 2009.
Okay.
So graduated, moved back to Charlotte for a little bit because I didn't pass my athletic training cert yet. I was trying to pass it in grad school, and it was just a lot between school.
On.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had 4 GAs and the 2 other guys. I felt bad because like that's why I told you I was like the L3, like I'm not a test person, and a lot of times like this job kind of overlaps like with athletic training. Like it's not a desk job. Like we're interactive with people. So like even if somebody comes up and asks a nutrition question, like you have books. Like it's not an emergent question. Like, oh, let me look into that and go do it.
Right.
And I know you should know it for the test, but like sometimes you need like looking at paper and pen is not the same. And so like the two guys I was with, one worked for the Saints and one worked for the Broncos, and they couldn't pass it either. Like
That's wild.
Yeah, like so, but like we felt bad. This one girl that worked with us passed it right away, but application wise, it wasn't there. So you know, and so but so I went back to Charlotte so I could work, because I had worked through college. Man, I don't know how I did it. I'm no sleep. So I ran track and played golf, and then I also worked at FedEx midnight shift loading trucks.
Oh my gosh, Kelly.
I also worked at Finish Line. And then so when I moved back to Charlotte, the manager at Finish Line was like, I'll make you my assistant manager. Like he knew. So I worked there. I was also a part-time bankruptcy specialist at Wells Fargo. I had like
holy crap,
so many jobs. My dad is like, your tax returns are ridiculous.
How did you get that job, a bankruptcy specialist?
It was like a part-time like program.
That is so
like a random
funny.
like what is it like a contracting company was
like
just
you were
trying to
helping people file for bankruptcy, or
like people. So basically,
or recover
people
from
filed for it's okay. People filed for bankruptcy, and I had to like post their documents on court websites and all this stuff. Like I would be seeing like $7 million in California online. I'm like Jesus, like so.
And you got 3 jobs and
Yeah,
wasted $7 million.
Wow,
So,
love it here.
Right? So I worked there, and then I passed my test, and so when I ran track in college, one of my fraternity brothers who ran track at Charleston Southern University, if we didn't have a meet, or we did, we always, same conference, so we'd always see each other and hang out. But then if we didn't, I'd be like, yo, I'm coming to the beach. So he was like, yo, apply for this job in Charleston. And I'm like, all right, let me look. And there's like one job. And I'm like, all right, let's go. We'll try. So I apply. And it's a funny story because I go in and I'm like dressed and I'm like in a suit. And the guy that's interviewing,
power suit, love it.
better be overdressed.
And is he in like sweats, Kelly? Tell me he's in sweats.
He's in like swishy pants.
Swishy pants.
Yeah, and like a collared shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, whatever, overdressed.
That's right, overdressed.
Okay.
That's right.
So, because it's through hospital outreach at a high school, so I gotta like interview with him first, and then the guy at the high school wanted to interview me secondary. That's fine. So the funny part is so I'm interviewing at the hospital. He's like, all right, well, we got to go to the high school. It's right down the road, because he wants to interview you personally, just to like see how he feels, because he's who I'd be working with, so I completely get it.
Yeah, you want to know. Have an idea.
So so we're like going, and I'm following him, and we're pulling up. So this guy I dated in college, he was from Charleston. He's like, oh, I went to Goose Creek High School, and I remember thinking, I'm like,
gosh, I played against them.
and I'm like, that sounds so country. What in the world? And end up pulling in at my job interview to Goose Creek High School, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yes, let's go.
It's like, what's going
That's
on?
God messing with you.
Yeah, right. And so we go in, and Ernie, he was like my second dad. So I go in my interview. So funny.
Ernie's the swishy pants guy?
No, this is that one. Ernie's would be basically my head athletic trainer at the high school that's interviewing me.
Nice.
And it's not even like, it's just so funny because he's like, he knew Bill Warren at Northwestern High School where I worked at in undergrad, so he was like, all right, I'll talk to him, but if he's good with you, then I'm fine with you. He was like, the only 3 questions I got are, and I was single at the time, he was like, are you in the military? And I was like, no. He's like, are you married to the military? I was like, no. Are you dating anybody in the military? And I was like, no. He's like, you're hired. And I'm like,
holy crap.
Really? He must have had an
he
experience.
had 3 people before him that were all military spouses.
And then all of a sudden you become a military
less than
spouse.
6 months.
Wow.
And they
That
had to
does
move,
suck.
and it leaves him in the middle of football season with no assistant or whatever. And so And if you're in the athletic training field, you know, fall is busy, but spring is busier because it's soccer teams, baseball, softball, lacrosse. Like, you have so much.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Like, and people don't understand. Like, in South Carolina now, it's open season. And so, like, when I was there, so we have 24 teams that can practice and play all year long.
round. Yep.
And so, like, just because it was a good day and football got done at 6 or 7, I don't go home because volleyball stay until 10. So I'm working, and at point when I started teaching, I got there at 8 a.m. I wouldn't leave on football nights. I wouldn't leave till 11 p.m. And, like, I'd be there all day teaching from 8 a.m. till 2 or 3. I'd run out to get me and Ernie food, and then we'd be there for games until 11 p.m.
I love that his name is
all
Ernie.
day. And so it was tough. But man, I loved it. Like, it was just working with the kids and, like, getting to see them progress as human beings and as athletes. And like one of our guys just retired from the NFL after 24 years. I did his shoulder rehab, or started it before he went to USC. I got a couple girls that play overseas basketball now. Like, you just get to watch them, and it's completely awesome. Like, I don't know, it's a different feeling of, like, it's like coaching. Like, you get to help them along the way, which is kind of like essentially what got me into this, or an easier transition as well too, because athletic training, like physical therapists, we're always figuring out scaling options, or like, this is the RX work, or like the perform workout that nobody wants to do.
This is the movement I want you to do, but you can't do that, so let's take it down.
What can we do? Like, okay, well, this is hurting, so like, what can we do instead of a power clean? All right, well, let's do maybe a kettlebell swing, or like to initiate the hip hop, like, you know. So this coaching was kind of like working out was an easy transition, just because I was like, oh, it's almost the same thing. So did that. I was in Charleston for about 10 years. Started teaching only because the hospital outsourced us. I lost benefits, stuff like that, and I needed something to pay my benefits. So I started teaching. And then I worked athletics after school. And then I met my husband about probably 7 years around there, and he was stationed there in Charleston at the Brig, and probably actually about 5 years.
Not in the Brig, but working at the Brig.
He was not in the Brig. He was not in the Brig.
Just would like to clarify for everyone.
Definitely not that Brig, especially. So he worked there. So it was probably about 5 years, because he got out. Most guys on shore duty, I'm not going back on the ship.
Yeah.
So he got out. He went to cosmetology school because he wanted to cut hair, and eventually he might go back to barber school, because he found out, like, if you went to barber school first, it doesn't count towards cosmetology hours, but if you go to a cosmetology school first, those hours count towards barber school. It's really weird. So anyway,
remember when she first told me that? Cause I was like, he wanted to do makeup. She's like, no, dumbass.
Hair.
He wanted to cut hair. So I mean, the difference only between, as you said, like a barber is like they carry the blade or whatever. So
it's like chemistry. Like, hair stuff is very like, look, I'll tell you right now, this is all
But it's
chemistry.
not easy. Like, he would come home and he'd be like, I have to learn the bones of the skull. I was like, well, lucky for you, I taught that, and there's a Quizlet online for that, so you can use it.
Here you go, honey.
Yeah, so, it's not as easy as it looks. So he did that. He got out, he worked, and then, but I also told him, I was like, it's not easy. Like, you're in a customer service-based industry where if you don't have clients, you're not going to make money, type of thing. And so he did it for a little bit, and then, but he was already also had like 10 to 12 years in the Navy. And so he re-enlisted, and it was supposed to be in San Diego. And then that ship caught on fire, and the Navy.
He was going to go to the Bonhoeffer Shard?
No.
Before it burned down?
No, he was on the New Orleans, which was in San Diego. But when that ship caught on fire, I guess that's when the Navy thought people were getting like really complacent, and they re-harbored like all the ships, or reported them. And so I remember him calling me, or like he came home one day and he was like, so we might have to move to Japan. And I was like,
man, what a bomb drop.
And he like, well, I didn't even like react, I guess, because I was like, when's it gonna happen? Like, the Navy, like, hurry up and wait. Like, it can never happen.
Oh yeah, it'll be a few years. Yeah.
So I was like, so he was like surprised, and then like 2 to 3 years later, 2 years later is when it actually got like final orders.
Really?
Because and so he was like, all right, we're definitely moving. That's when I was like, no.
Is that normal? Like that long?
No, but like
It depends.
when weird things happen, you'll start hearing rumors like if you're on a ship, it's going to get
pushed to you.
changed to a different port.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for it to happen. There's a lot of talk.
Yeah.
It just takes a while.
You just
sometimes.
don't know. I mean, his ship was in the yard getting fixed, so that's also what had to like. Yeah. So I was like, oh man.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So so
I
we
love
moved
this
to
guy. Remember, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Well, you were coaching CrossFit by then, right?
Oh yeah, I started coaching. So I
When you were in Charleston.
Yeah, so I actually started doing CrossFit, probably around 2012-ish. I was training for a marathon, and but I was like, I need to do more than just running. And so I could use the gym at school, but at that point I was there for like 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
I needed so like I needed to be somewhere else. And so the CrossFit Charleston was close by my job, and they were at that point, because it was still, 2012 was still relatively new for CrossFit. He only had a 6:30 class or whatever it was at like 3 days a week. So basically I went 3 days a week. I did like my long runs on Sunday. I did my hills or sprint work on Tuesday or Thursday, and then I took off Saturday or something. And so I did that. I did a half. And then I did a full. I did a half an hour 45. I did pretty good. So
my half was not that fast.
So and then I did my full, and then after that I was like, all right, let's get into CrossFit, and I found CrossFit because I did athletics for so long. Like when you like Paige can probably like, as she does CrossFit now, but she did cheer, and so had she done that in college and then got out, like. Athlete, you do it for so many years, you're like, what do I do with my life now? Like I dedicated so much time to this
and energy
at getting better to something, or just whatever, like I don't even know what to do. And so I always tell people, like if they ask, I'm like, if you try CrossFit and you have 1 ounce of competitive energy in your body, you are coming back. There is no way you're not coming back. It will kick your butt every time, but you're like, bro, I'm coming back.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm coming back.
So when you did it in Charleston, those 3 days a week, did you know, like after, like when did you know in that moment where you're like, I'm gonna do this after I'm done with these marathons?
So probably technically before I probably knew before I actually did my full. I remember there was another gym that was open close by, and I love Will Graham was the one that opened it. I love him. He introduced me to it, and but he was only open 3 days a week, and so I was looking at this other gym that was open like Tuesday, Thursday, and he was like, "Are you leaving the gym?" And I was like, No, it's okay. I was like, you're not open 5 days a week. I was like, I need options. I was like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, Will. So I just wanted to start, and he was like, man, because I always stayed after. It wasn't like I did the class, and it was like, all right, well, what am I doing today? I'm doing squats, or what am I doing? Like, if it's not programmed, like I think I told Tanita this last week. I was like, I look at the whole week before we even go into it, because I'm like, I need to know when back squats are programmed, because if they're not programmed in the week, I got to figure out what day I'm doing them after. I was like, I need to do them. Like, I need to keep up my strength, and it's not going to happen if I'm not doing. I mean, we do front squats, stuff like that. That's fine. But I was like, for me, I was like, to keep the movement and stuff like that, I want to at least do those once a week. And front squats, and I got to do core every day, especially after having my son. And 3 hernia repairs, mind you, prior to my son. So I started doing classes more often. He added Tuesday, Thursdays.
Was it just a CrossFit gym?
Yeah.
Why was he only running?
I know. Did he have another job?
No.
Interesting.
Were these classes packed?
No, they were not.
This sounds like somebody doing it in their garage.
Well, so he had a lot of people came in the afternoon. They weren't morning people, but I will say.
So you were at 6:30 in the morning. And you probably had some other classes.
5:30.
Oh, okay.
5:30, 6:30. Do we have a 5:30? I can't remember what time I come here. It's 5:30.
Yeah.
So it was 5:30. Sorry, man. So it was a 5:30. I mean, there was only maybe 3 of us.
Really?
It was not. I mean, Charleston is saturated with CrossFit gyms.
No, it really is.
Like,
you can throw a freaking rock to some of them.
It's ridiculous. It's how saturated it is. So
even then too, like Charleston was it's just like Virginia Beach area, right? Like just military hub. Like a lot of military started CrossFit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'll say, so where he was located back then, It was a very industrial park area. There was not a lot of houses, like not a lot of people lived over there. And so most people just probably went to the ones closer to their house.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was paying like $100 a month. Like it was nothing. Like the price was, I was like, we're going. And then, so he added it, I started going, and quickly I realized that I knew strength was not my forte. And so I was like, I'm going to have to.
It's crazy to think that now, Kelly.
Yeah. Well, I still like feel like I remember towards the end before we moved to Japan, I'd be like, man, that feel like crap. And like one of the coaches, Tristan, would be like, Kelly, your crap is a lot of people's good. So you got to like
Dang, right.
And I'm like, I know. I got to remind, but like you're harder on yourself, like you said, then, and especially on certain things like lifts, like, in space where the bar is supposed to be or whatever, and you're like, no, that didn't feel right, and you get frustrated because where it's supposed to be. So I was like, all right, I need to improve my strength. So I found an Ollie coach that was somewhat close by in Somerville. And I started going to him because I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until probably a couple months ago. I bought Born Primitives, one of like first apparels.
Really?
And it was their snatch shorts.
Oh, yes.
The ones with the padding in the front if you hit your pubic bone.
They had snatch shorts with a pad.
I didn't even know. That was the first thing they ever sold.
put out.
That's it. That's the only thing they sold. And the only reason why I bought it, and this is to prove that everybody starts somewhere.
That's true.
I literally thought you just hit your pubic bone every time. Every time you did the snatch, I just thought that's what happened. And so every time we did snatches, I would hit my pubic bone, and it hurt so bad. And so I bought those shorts, and I would wear them.
That's hysterical.
And so when I found him, and he was like, "No, that's not supposed to happen."
Did your coach tell you to stop doing that? I hope.
And well, I never asked Will because I just I assumed it was supposed to happen.
Well, CrossFit, I feel like too. Like there's a couple of things when CrossFit is crossed over with Olympic lifting. Like there are some things that are lost in translation. I think like details. I feel like of the lifts.
Well, yes, and also, but like CrossFit almost had to not create words, but like because like Isabel or Grace, like you, or when they go shoulder to overhead, so they had to create squat snatch. In Olympic lifting, if you say snatch,
it's
assumed you're going ass to grass, and you're.
I don't know if you guys have been witnessed. I've given that speech to classes.
Yes, if it's a snatch,
and explain that only in CrossFit do we.
Do we differentiate? Yeah, because like what is it? I think it's Elizabeth. You have to squat clean, right? And so like they don't want to put just clean because people will power clean 135, 95, and so that's kind of like I think the differentiation of where it kind of sometimes gets lost in translation. But anyway, so I found that coach, helped me out a little bit. Thank God, saved my pubic bone.
I was able to have kids. God bless.
Oh my God. Never use those shorts again. I actually found them. I don't know how they made it, right? So anyway,
I want to look at them.
Oh my God! If I still have them, I'll bring them in. Oh my God! So anyway,
should have had a steel plate so every time you'd hear ting or a bell. Bing.
Okay, honestly though, I mean I could kind of get behind that. Like you're just hitting the right spot. Oh God.
So So anyway, so I worked with him a little bit, and he was good. I liked him, but for my personality and how I like to be coached, I was like, all right, I kind of need to find somebody else. And at that point, I think I had just gotten my level 1 because Will only like after a little bit was like, you should get your level 1, like you'd be a really good coach. But I'm also very much so I should be able to demo or like do the movements before I get like I mean I can't do muscle ups right now like I used to be able to do them before I had my son, but at least being able to go through the movements I should be able to hopefully coach and then like when you were working with Paige on her muscle ups and like compare also what we were talking about yesterday as a coach, like when you coach one thing, especially like let's say it's a snatch, we use the alphabet, there's like A through Z, which is 26 letters. There's 26 things that you could possibly coach in the snatch. And let's say today you're gonna pick D, you're gonna pick letter D to focus on, and like but that's like I try not to give them more than one thing to focus on a workout because if you're like shooting at them, they're gonna be like, oh my God, like information overload. What do I focus on? So usually like when I'm in the class, unless somebody specifically asks me, even then I'll give them something, but I try not to overstep on the coach because I don't know what, like if you're coaching, I don't know what you've already told them to focus on.
Kelly, I
And
love
so-
you for that though, because I have had moments where I'm like, and this is not to like say that we talked about this a little bit in the podcast with Paige and Lauren too, right? Like, know who to listen to. Because I've been in classes where members are telling other people what to do, and I have no problem with that, but I'm like, I've just told them 2 things. And you've told them 2 things, and now they're looking like a baby deer that just walked for the first time.
One thing that you told them and one thing that they told them could be the complete opposite.
Exactly.
And so even as a coach, like if you're coaching, I try not to step on your toes because I don't know. I'm paying attention to my workout, and I like when we did max out. I think it was snatches the other day, and who was standing behind us, and he was like, "Oh, there's 2 coaches. Me and Miguel are on this side." He's like, "I'm gonna come on this side," but I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe it was Marty.
And I was like, "I'm not
Marty's
gonna."
pretty new.
No, but he was at Tidewater.
Gotcha.
You took a picture of him in class
I did.
Dave.
on his phone. Yes, thank
Dave
you.
Machupa.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if I'm going for 1RM2, like, I'm not really trying to coach. I'm trying to do
not
my
trying
own
to coach
thing."
you, yeah.
And so I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to you that much. I worked with him after."
Yeah,
But I'm like,
yeah.
also, like, if that's your class, I don't want to step on your toes if you've already told him one thing. I want him to focus
Yeah,
on
you
that
don't
one
want to steal
thing.
somebody else's flow.
Yeah,
That's true,
like,
that's
you know,
true.
and I want him to focus on that one thing
Yeah.
because then that one thing that day might get them better and he can focus on something else
Yeah.
another day. But then also, like, so if we're focusing on task D, you have a cue and I have a different cue and she has a different cue and everybody responds to different cues. Like, so like you could say like when we did the front squats and you got stuck and you were like, "Feet through the floor." They were like, her and Caitlin were like, "Is she stuck? I think she's stuck." And I was like,
you're just saying, I'm like, okay, you're going to hang out here for like 15 minutes. I don't know what we're doing.
and so like Will used to use that when I first started and it never clicked. Like I was like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then like as I started playing around with my ollie and stuff like that and the first like getting the deadlift and I'm like, oh,
The
that's
body
what they
awareness too.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that years later, that's not like,
Isn't that
that's
crazy?
years later. And so that's why I was like, different cues work for different people, which I will say, like,
At
that's why I said
different
the
moments.
coaching, like the L3, it might not, like coaching helps you taking the L3, but also like coaching helps you so much in just learning how to explain things. People, some people are verbal, some people are kinesthetic, some people are body awareness, and some people are like visual and like knowing to your clients and how they respond. And so like if I said, stick your butt back in the squat first, and I said it 5 times and they're still not using it, that cue's not working for them. I need to
Right.
find something else.
Yeah.
And so like having that,
I give 2 to 3 chances, and then I'll change the
like,
cue.
you know,
Something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
walk
so,
back around. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to try something else when I come back
Yeah,
around.
and
Well,
so-
if another coach is giving cues, it doesn't, as long as they make sense, and if sometimes it works, I'm okay with that because it comes
Yeah.
with good intent.
As long as they're aligned,
As
too,
long
right?
as whoever's
Yeah.
trying to tell I've had worse experiences with people that aren't coaches, people that think they are, and I've seen people literally, like for example, I had watch somebody try to tell somebody how to snatch, and then when you get to the hips, they were telling them to
Hump the bar.
No, well,
Yeah.
they said that.
Oh, God.
They said and I literally was like,
Don't.
no,
Yeah.
no.
You're like across the room like this.
Yeah. So
Don't listen.
which turned into me giving on a 3-minute tirade of
Spiel,
explaining
yeah.
the physics
Of
of the
why we
snatch
don't do
on
that.
the barbell supposed to travel straight and all this stuff too. And then I kind of felt bad because this person really was just trying to help. But in reality, the problem was it was that mix where you talked about of ollie and CrossFit crossing.
Yes.
I said, sure, if you're slinging a 95-pound barbell, you could get sloppy in a snatch, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean you're doing the movement right.
But I'm
You've
not
changed
also
it.
going to lie. That's why I hate doing CrossFit workouts with like high rep, low barbell snatches or cleans because I feel like
All
it
of your
completely
reps.
jacks
Yes.
up my body, like muscle memory for like when I have to go heavy, but also like humping the bar and just physical movement of how it works. Your hips go this way when you're humping, and so you want to go this way
Yep.
in ollie.
Yeah.
Like,
I was telling
Yeah.
someone this the other day, and like maybe a total sidetrack here, but CrossFit got really big into this like lean all the way back. We want to be triple extended. We want to have this like super big arch in our bodies
Yeah.
when we're like finishing out our pools, and it's like
No.
you never see Olympic lifters look like a banana, all right? They look straight up, and then at the very last second, maybe their upper torso is
it's
a
like
little
violent
bit-
back and then
Yeah,
come.
it's not like this.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, but they're doing that lean back is more because they're trying to sneak under the bar super fast.
Yes, and
So,
it's like
yeah.
it's not you'll watch them get extended, and then it's after the bar is like stopped moving upward. Are they leaning to pull their body down?
Yeah.
And like,
And you're pulling your body under the bar. You're not dropping and crashing under the bar, just so you know.
It's crazy.
I was telling somebody about this today.
There's like so many. That's what I told her. I was like, there's so much stuff that I have in my head when I look at workouts that I want to go over, and I'm like, I only have an hour. I only have an hour. I need to pick what's most important.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like something that's most important today might be a totally different topic than the next day. And I try to there's some things that I will not give up. Like, I'm on a deadlift, it's not a pulling movement. It is a pushing movement with your legs. Like, you can't tell me otherwise. Like,
I mean, if you want to blow your back out.
yeah, if you want to blow your back out. And I'm like, I'm going to use that cue till I'm dead because I think it's a fantastic cue. But there could be some other things that we focus on in the deadlift each time.
I like that.
Right?
No, because I always say push the earth away.
Yeah, push the earth
Push
away.
the earth away with your legs.
That one singular cue changed my deadlift significantly. Just like thinking about, and like obviously you have to have body awareness, you have to know what you're doing, but that probably helped my deadlift jump like 40 pounds just because I was like not anymore. I was actually using my feet and my legs.
Did you actually make that face too?
Probably. Ooh, I bet you I looked like I was pooping my pants with a couple of deadlifts.
All right, I got a question. So we're in this. You're going through this transition. You're beginning to coach CrossFit, working out, you're getting into Ollie. Where did the Pan Am Games come into play?
That was later.
Yeah.
So that happened right before we went to Japan.
Okay.
So, like I said, I like the guy, but I ended up getting my level 1 CrossFit, and then I was like, all right, I want to get my Ollie too, just because it was interesting to me, but also I wanted to be able to offer more knowledge to the clients.
USA weightlifting
Yeah,
one?
yeah. So I got my CrossFit level 1, and then I was like, after working with that guy, I'm like, yo, I don't want to say I'm a difficult person. Let's just put it that way. But my husband will tell you. But I also I love the snatch. I love the clean and jerk. Don't get me wrong, but the snatch is so technical. It's there or it isn't. You got and I hand over fist love the snatch.
Yeah.
And so
You're not going to PR a snatch if it's ugly.
No.
You can PR a clean and jerk if it's ugly,
Yeah, you
but you're not
can.
going to do it with the
you
snatch.
can finagle something in the clean and jerk, but the snatch, it ain't happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, this is pretty freaking cool. So I wanted to get my L1 in that, and I did. And then so the guy that taught it, he ended up becoming my Ollie coach, Michael Cohen. He was an Olympian in 1980. His kids compete for nationals and stuff like that. So they have a gym in Savannah. They work with Parkinson's patients too. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, they
That's
have
so
a
cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So
What's the gym in Savannah?
Savannah weightlifting. But it's pretty cool. Yeah. So and he had the Parkinson's patients would do the Ollie competitions with us.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, I would cry.
So because early they work on control of muscle and stuff like that, so it helps to prolong their situation. So it's pretty cool. So worked with him, qualified for Pan Ams and Nationals. Oh man, I think it was 2018.
When did you know you were getting serious? When did you know that was something you wanted to do, or is it hey, we'll just try?
I think as soon as I got my L1 in Ollie, I was like, we're doing it. Yeah, we're doing it. Because I was like, I just loved it. I mean, I like working out. I love sports. I love doing it, not watching it all the time. My husband will attest to that. I'd be like, turn that crap off. I don't want to watch it. I'd rather do it than watch it.
Yeah, I want to do it.
But man, it was awesome. And so I worked with him, and I was more, and it was injuries, not because of Ollie or CrossFit. I did not get injuries because of Ollie or CrossFit. But I was born with an umbilical hernia. I had got fixed when I was 4, but if you ever use this mesh and it caused a problem, you need to call.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Did you make any money off that?
No.
Not worth it.
No, yeah. So
I got $6 from the class action lawsuit.
right. So I got that fixed when I was 4, and then I also was born with an inguinal hernia defect, which is in the hip crease. So I've had the inguinal one my whole life, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger when I was in Charleston, and I was like, all right, it's time to get it fixed. Got it fixed. then the mesh ruptured. Had to get that. It was like a year after each other. It was rough. I was like, God. So and so after that, I was like, all right, we're going.
We're gonna do it.
Like we're doing it. Got a hip labrum tear.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Good
bro,
night.
I know. It's dedication. That's all I'm gonna say. So but I will say the hip labrum. I couldn't squat. I couldn't do anything below parallel for 8 or 9 months.
Oh my gosh.
It was rough.
Were you like killing
I was
yourself?
Crying. Like it was mentally like not crying. Like, I was emotionally ready to cry. Like and like my coach was still working with me. He's like, all right, we're gonna try from the blocks and we're gonna do power.
Was it a full labrum tear or partial?
No, so it was very small. Like so, our orthos that worked with our school, I emailed them.
But the
I told
labrum,
them.
that's what holds the hip, the
So it
bone
lines
in
the
there,
hip.
right?
Yeah, it kind of like it's like a cushion or whatever between the hip and the femur, sits in the socket, and so so it's very small. And he was like, so we can fix it if you want, but that hip surgery, you're going to be in a hip brace for about 6 weeks. You can't move your leg. He's like, you're like most people need hip replacements anyway at some point in their life. So, and I'm like, screw it. I'll figure it out. Nope, we're good. So, I really started to work on my mechanics, especially in squats. And I noticed, which most women are, more quad dominant. And so, I was focusing more on trying to utilize my posterior chain, I guess, more than I was. And that was it. And so I had to change my setup in certain things, like Miguel. I know Miguel hates me. I'm sorry, Miguel. So because when we do deadlifts and stuff, he's like, your hands are so wide, and I'm like, yes, I know.
Poor Miguel.
I know, and I'm like, don't hit me, Miguel. I'm promise I'm listening. I just can't do it. So like my hands go almost to that first hash mark, my pinkies for my deadlifts and cleans, because I have to set up to where my feet are here and I have my knees drip, like to make sure I like initiate my glutes, because they don't want to wake up, I guess. So I started doing that, and before my hip labrum tear, I probably couldn't get over 185, 195, and then after I reset and did everything, I got up to 235.
Let's go.
So it helped.
That's a significant difference.
And but that's also the difference, like you guys talked about, like when you start CrossFit and like you're like, oh, you make all the gains in the beginning because you just start. You make all your PRs. You're like, oh, and then like you get to that plateau because
you have to refine.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like if you don't work on the small things in the beginning of like just how your body mechanics work and stuff like that, you're going to hit a plateau and you're going to have to start over. Strength can only take you but so far.
Well, I think people and coaches too forget that everybody is built different, right?
Yes.
So your ratios of your femur to like how your hips line up, there's a lot of things, and sometimes you think this is just how I move, when in reality if you'd have just maybe gone a little bit more narrow, go a little bit wider, there's all these things.
And that's what I tell people in the Ollie class. I'm like don't, and I know CrossFit teaches it, and that's fine. It's a good starting place, and they're like thumb width outside your hips, but I'm like, you can play around with it. Like your femurs are like, your legs are different length than me, your arms are different length, and I was like, it doesn't have to be so like cut and dry. And so like my coach, when he taught my Ollie coach, when he taught his level 1s and level 2s, he'd be like, when you catch in the bottom, he was like, your ass has to fit between your feet. So if they don't go wide enough, how you going to catch it in the bottom? And so it's a good explanation, because you're supposed to jump, separate your feet, catch in the bottom, and if your butt can't fit, you're not going low. I mean, like there are times when I've done it in my video, and my friends are like, "Yo, is your butt touching the ground in that clean?" And I'm like, "It's probably pretty close."
Right.
Like
if the butt don't fit, you don't sit.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's gonna go on a poster in the gym.
Okay.
So so did that and so qualified for nationals. And so like I think I talked to Paige about this. I competed in 59. I usually sat around 60 kilos. Sorry, not pounds. Yeah, I know. We were
Very
doing
small.
snatches, and Allie walks by, and she was like looking at the fractional plate. She was like, "Does that balance it out? What is?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Math, man." And I'm like, "Bro." And I was like, "It's like second nature
Kelly,
now."
you'll be happy to hear this though. So I got a lady that just signed up for Open Gym. She does Olympic weightlifting, and she's bringing in all of her kilo Olympic plates.
What?
I don't have to do
Yeah.
math anymore.
No.
But now I don't even have to do it because I'm
Now
like,
you're like, I'm
people
just
are like,
trained.
what do you mean? And I'm like 45, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99, 110, 121. I'm
Yeah.
like in my head.
I
Like
got
you just
this.
double it. That's almost, it's pretty,
Yeah,
I've been doing it so
2.2,
long.
Yeah.
Double it
So-
plus 10%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's whatever.
Yeah.
She'll
So,
be bringing
um,
Or
her
multiply
stuff,
two.
so.
Yeah, nice.
Multiply it by 2.2043.
2.2.
Yeah. 0.
But that's how I just bet.
Every
yeah.
one of my son's Olympic meets, I'd be as soon as they load the bar, I'm like doing math on the calculator.
Because I will, so like I have my own fractional plates that I carry in my bag, and everybody looks at me like, "Come on now," and I'm like,
I'm serious.
You should
I
wear
travel.
them on a
On a
necklace.
necklace. Yes.
But I was like, we move so much, and then like if I go home and like to work out or whatever, and I'm like, it's in kilos, and like I told
Yeah.
Tanita the other day when she was in here, I was like. Back squats, like regular strength stuff. Well, press is a little different.
Probably
Press
okay.
sucks.
Yeah.
But like going up 2.5, 5, or 10 pounds is like ginormous in a snatch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I was
you.
like, if you're trying to, especially when you're trying to build up progressions, those fractional plates do so much because they provide stimulus.
Yes.
Because if I can do 95. I can't hit 100, but if I can hit 97, those 2 pounds of stimulus help my body acclimate to get used to possibly building
Give me
up
those
to
quarter pounders
100.
right there. Slide them
Yeah.
on.
Slide those puppies
So
on.
like so I'm like, look at me all you want to, but I was like that 1 pound's going on that PR board today.
You
and
know,
I'm like,
Catalyst Athletics, guess his name's Greg and his wife Amy.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about how like we get so frustrated in CrossFit because we want a 5-pound PR, and he's like 2.5 pounds, 2 pounds,
1
1
pound.
pound is still a
1
PR.
pound is
like,
huge,
You're at
especially in the
100%, and you go to 101. Like that's still a PR. Like why do we work so hard
Still
for these
progress.
like 5
Yeah.
pounds?
1% better every day.
Yeah.
You know what I've done to the kids before with those fractional plates is I put them on the bar first and then
They
load,
don't
so the
know.
whole time they don't know they're always doing 2
Somebody
pounds
did
more
that to
than
me
they
for
thought.
back squats. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, I was like, that was really messed up because if I failed, I would have been pissed. But
But you
Thankfully, it
didn't,
worked
did you?
out.
fractional plates, they
Yeah.
added like 15 pounds.
It
and I
would've
was like,
worked
that's a
that
huge
day.
jump.
Yeah.
Not all of my techniques always work.
I'll be honest.
97.2% of the time they're good.
But so yeah, sorry, I'm like I get
That's all right.
detoured a lot. But so nationals was first. That was in Salt Lake City. I competed about 59. I usually sat about 60, so I like cutting to 59 wasn't that big a deal. But at that point, I was like, all right, if we're gonna go, like we're gonna go. And 59 kilos was pretty competitive. 55 was competitive, but 59, I don't know, what's her name, K Mighty on Instagram if you follow her, but she was flirting between 59. I wasn't sure where she was going to compete, and she looks almost double what I like. She's freaking. So I was like,
Yeah, the people in
and
those
she
lower
started.
classes,
She started
they
at
move
like
some
30
insane
years
weight.
old. Like she has 2
There's
kids.
still hope for all of us.
Yeah, right. Like that's why I'm like, okay, I can still make it. I was like, all right, we're gonna cut to 55.
What?
Bro, that was
Kelly.
reckless.
Yeah, that's reckless.
That was reckless. I will tell you that was reckless. Don't do it.
That's 10 pounds.
It was technically like 12.
Yeah.
Because I got the 119 and not
You
121.
were probably miserable to be around.
So I was
Yeah.
actually,
I would have made you live in a hotel, or I would go live in a hotel.
So
if I was
I will
married to you.
say this: when this happened, it was in 2018. It was because we moved to Japan in 2019, and my husband was in San Diego. That was the only way I was going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you live Sam competes, and so you guys are probably
a little
somewhat.
bit of understanding.
He doesn't work out that much. Like he works out for he's just genetically gifted. Like we'll go
Dang,
like
don't you
to
hate that?
gym stuff, and they'll be like 6-pack, and be like, "What do you do for workouts?" He's like, "I eat Kit Kats." Shut up.
I know. I hate you already.
Like, he's just genetically gifted. But like, yeah, he's like my height and he can dunk the basketball. Like it's ridiculous. So anyway, so like he eats whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And so like it would have never
Yeah, because
worked.
you would have been in such a different place, like
Yeah.
with what you needed to do.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Like I'm measuring, like I'm weighing all my
Yeah.
food. I'm at the end of the day, and I'm like, all right, I got 2 grams of carbs, and I need something sweet, shot of whipped cream, fat free, like, and that's it. Like that's what it was.
It's like a divorced woman, like.
And it was just like 1 tablespoon because that's all I could afford.
Could you see yourself doing that now?
No.
Oh my
No.
God,
So
I love it.
I cut to 55, and I was honestly for nationals I was good. I made the decision so far in advance, like months in advance. So I would
you had
give
tons
myself
of time.
because I did not want to rush it. And so, oh God, I can't. Cassandra Hobart, James Hobart's wife, well, she was my nutritionist.
Nice.
So I worked with her, really great. And so cut down, and I made weight 2 days prior. So it was a lot easier. I made sure to get a room with a kitchen because,
and you ate your mind out.
Can't, like, well, that's the thing. Like, we got there, and I wanted Salt Lake City, like, elevation.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we got there 4 days early because I wanted to get acclimated. Like, we got a room with a kitchen because I still had to measure and weigh until we get there. Like, I was like that morning standing on the scale with the food I wanted to eat. Like, am I going to be over? I didn't lift till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I couldn't eat.
How soon do you have to weigh yourself?
12. I had to wait till 12 to eat, and I'm like, I can't wait that long. I'm starving.
Oh my
gosh! And I'm
Kelly.
downing water because you do the water cut, and I'm like, okay, and so I'm like standing, and I'm like, okay, I can make it with this food, and so so I'm like,
So you were standing on the scale with the food,
with
going
your
like,
hand in my hand,
Okay.
and I'm like, yes. So I eat the food, get to weigh-ins, go compete. I missed third because of my snatch. I missed. So I was 119 at weigh-in, and I got 135 overhead, and it was a holy shit moment. And I was like, oh my God, it's up there, but where's it going? And
I can't believe that just happened.
I wasn't expecting it to go up that easily, and it was
have
there,
those days.
and then I lost it behind me. And I was like, no, so I missed third because of my snatch, and then Pan Am's was after that. And but I also knew after nationals it wasn't going to work at 55, but I kept it for Pan Am's.
So did qualifying for Pan Am's, was that, how do you qualify for Pan Am's? Is there a qualifier?
It's like other meets prior.
Okay.
You have to meet the kilo, whatever it is, and which was fine.
That cut being stressful though. Like,
no, it's mentally.
Because I didn't even do it, but my son did, and he actually, he was like right on the line, and he can lose weight super fast. But it was stressful because whatever time he was lifting, he had to weigh in at like 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I don't remember if we took a scale with us or we bought one we found one in the training hall.
Yeah.
So he's like weighing in constantly, looking at the volume of food.
That would stress me out.
He didn't cut to the weight, but you know, sometimes he'd flirt over the line. So he was just trying to maintain, and even that was stressful.
I would look at an M&M and gain weight.
Because if you miss,
you couldn't buy anything. Like you could not buy stuff to have in your house to just sit there because you would eat it.
If you miss weight, you have 1 hour to come back and try again.
Yeah. Like, and so that's what happened.
So there's like treadmills in the room next to
Oh my God.
So I'll tell you. So when I went to 55, like even my dad flew out, and he was like, Kelly, I haven't seen you this small since high school.
He's like, Kelly, I'm worried.
And he was like, and so I lost my period that month because I cut so much. And I was like, not safe. Shouldn't be doing this again.
Yeah.
But I kept it for Pan Am's since I was already basically there, and it was only a couple months later, 2 months later. And so I only missed it for 1 month though, but still, it was rough. Mentally, it's tough, like, because you're weighing everything, and just and you're carrying a gallon of water with you all day. Like, I gotta drink this water so I can, like, you know, it's so mentally defeating. And so when I went to Pan Am's, Florida, my dad came again. My parents support me in everything, so I appreciate that. And my dad came down and played golf.
Of course.
Probably not the best idea.
You played golf.
You played.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Kelly.
Golf was fine. The problem was we got there, and I got there late. I drove down, and
this is before I'm weak.
This is like a couple days before. So I get there, and I'm running a little late 3 days before, and I'm trying to get in the supermarket to buy food for the kitchen to eat, and I wasn't thinking clearly. And I was like, what can I eat on the golf course while I'm playing that's going to stay in my macros? Because I can't eat a hot dog. Beer. And I can't eat, like, I can't, because, you know, like, you can't get stuff at a restaurant because you don't know what oil they use and how much they're not weighing stuff.
Terrible.
I bought fucking ham. Oh, sorry, I can't say that.
Yeah, you can. We're past 5 minutes.
We're past 5 minutes. We're good.
You bought ham?
Yeah.
And that's it?
What's ham?
Deli ham.
All that salt?
Yeah.
And cheese.
I was not thinking. So
Well, it would have been fine if you were
I had
lactose
one
intolerant.
sandwich on the golf course, and the next day
You were overweight.
I was so over. I was like 119 before, and I was like, gravy, baby, nationals. Like, I'm gonna be great. bro, the day before, I was at like 125. I was
How
like,
big a sandwich did you eat?
holy crap.
That's a big sandwich.
Bro.
Hey, did you have a foot long?
I was so mad. And I was like crying. 'Cause
Kelly,
I
hey.
would be crying for so many months.
Kelly ate a whole party sub.
And I'm texting Cassandra like, I'm 125. I just shot up 6 pounds in a day, and I ate ham. I'm so sorry.
She's
what
like,
do I
you're
do?"
lying. What else did you eat?
And so she was like, all right, I'm gonna give you this, but don't do this at home,
Did
kids.
you take a laxative?
No, bro. I did the burrito wrap, and that is not fun.
A burrito.
What
Oh,
is-
were you going to the place and they wrap you up? To pull all the water
It
out of
is
you?
not fun.
Kelly.
So, like the stuff you do to your body. So, hot, like bathroom, shut the door. Hot as water as you can stand it, steaming in the bathroom. Sit in the tub for like, I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes. Get out, roll yourself in a sheet, and lay on the floor for like 10 to 15 minutes. I lost 4 pounds just by doing it twice.
Can I also just take this moment to say, like,
This is not safe. Do not do this at home.
Yeah, it's not safe, but like also like when people get so worked up about their weight fluctuating,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not weight. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
water. Like oh.
But I had to make weight, and I was like,
Yeah.
bro, this is the
I am
morning. I got it. And I
stressed.
didn't lift at 2:00 in the afternoon. I lifted in the morning.
Did you
I
make
needed
it?
it going. Oh yeah, but it was rough.
Yeah.
I was at 122 that morning, and I'm like, holy
You
shit,
did
I
it
got one
again
more. I
that
got one
morning?
more. No, I went and they had a sauna at the thing, so I went and I weighed, and I was still over. He's like, go to the sauna, and I literally thought I was gonna pass out in the sauna. I had like no water, like barely any water to give. Like I was not like barely sweating in the sauna.
Heat stroke.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so not good. And I'm like, I finally get it. And I go out and I had to like dry my hair too because it's carrying
Yeah,
water
'cause-
weight. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So I get
This
on
is
and I
wild.
just make it. But mind you, that was like an hour after I didn't make it. So now I have an hour to rehydrate, eat something, and
start
prep
warming up.
to get ready. Yeah, it was not
Oh,
good.
heck
It
no.
sucked. And then Pan Am's, my snatch was garbage. It was trash. And then clean and jerks actually came back a little bit. Like I think I hit like 155 or 150, but it still wasn't great. But it was better than what I thought I was gonna get. But he was like, and then after
Sweat your
that,
body out.
yeah. Well, I mean, and he was like, we're not going to do 55
That's
anymore. And I'm like, yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
the moral of that story is don't eat ham.
So, but I will say, like,
love
I also
ham.
knew, but
I
I
know, I had
also
a ham
knew.
sandwich today. I'm not eating ham no more.
But I also knew, like, once I cut to 55 and I weighed in the first time, I was like, this isn't going to work because I was like, it was nice, I guess, because I was like, man, like, I'm still lifting that amount of weight when I was losing the weight, but I was like, I have no weight to give. Like, I don't even have enough room. I don't even have enough room to gain muscle
Yeah.
in this weight
Yeah.
class to
Yeah.
improve.
To improve my lifts
Yeah,
anyway.
so I was like, I have to do 50. Like, there's no way I can stay in 55.
You know, I was like Maddie Rogers. I think did that in the last couple of years. Went up a weight class.
She does a couple. She fluctuates and competes in different weight classes because they don't know who's gonna who's gonna compete
Who's gonna
against
go-
her in what weight class.
I did not realize how seriously gamey the
Oh,
sport
yeah.
of Olympic weightlifting is.
Like, as you're a coach, like my
I couldn't imagine the stress.
He's coached at a couple Olympics, and he was like, they'll put in. It gets down to like where they'll put in. Let's say like my opener would be. Let's say if it was 75 kilos, they might put 50 kilos. A couple people would put
To
lower.
see what else people
The
will
people-
put.
Well, to see what else
Yeah.
people, but then also like if I put in my actual one, I think, oh, I have X amount of people doing X amount of lifts before me. I got time to rest before I warm up.
Right.
And then he was like,
Hey,
and,
you
then,
gotta go now.
and then they changed it, and he had less than 10 minutes to warm up to like a 230-pound clean and jerk, and like he was like, we had to go, and I'm like it's
Yeah.
nuts.
It's
like,
it's so
like
wild.
you need so many people because you need like he's there coaching you, telling you what reps to do in between their lifts on the stage
Yeah.
because you don't just
Yeah.
do a lift and then go sit down.
No.
Because like there's
If your
other
lift's
people
up next, you go up next,
Well, you
right?
go up next and you lift, but then you come back and like if you go up or even if you stay at the same weight, there could be other people.
Yeah.
After you
It all
that
depends
have
how
to
many.
hit that
lift.
weight.
It all depends how many people are going, and I had
It
no
is
idea.
weights, right?
till
'Cause
my-
it's all by
Well,
okay.
I had no idea either until my son started competing, and I remember when it was on the board in Detroit. I'm like, that's not his opener. He lifts way more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your coach keeps going back and declaring a new
Upper-
weight.
yeah.
So he keeps going
To
up.
see who's doing what.
Right.
and-
So he didn't go till midway through.
It's like and like so you got like his wife who competes. she stands at the table and she watches the numbers, and then she's yelling back to him about what numbers are going, like, oh, like if numbers changed, how many reps, like, or people before you and stuff like that. And
they're changing them
and
all
you
the
can
while,
mess,
all the while as
you
well.
can mess with people too, because let's say you hit a lift and the person that was going to go next, it's actually you going again. So you get like a 1 minute or 2 minutes. There's a 1 and a 2 minute. And I forget which is which. Anyway, say that person thinks that they had time because you were going to go again. Your coach ups it a couple kilos.
Yeah.
Now they have to go. They have 1 minute to go.
If you follow yourself, you usually get an extra minute. But it's usually 2 minutes. But if you follow yourself, they usually sometimes like
so
give you an
there
extra
is
minute.
a ton.
I'm stressed listening to y'all.
Like
oh my gosh,
it's a lot. And then it's I don't.
Man, you've had a kind of an interesting path to get here. That's a pretty cool experience, though.
kidding.
So that I will say it's fun though. I told Paige, I was like, you got to do it because she's asking me, and I was like, just
That's
she
where
wants to
that
get back
came
in
from.
it. Wow.
No. Well, the other day she said she might want to do another Ollie comp this year just to do it because your numbers to qualify for nationals, they're not.
She's over it.
Yeah, she's
well over
it's
it.
nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Most of the people in this gym would be surprised that their numbers actually qualify. You take your weight, so what class you're in, and it gives you a total of your clean and jerk and your snatch in kilos. And as long as you hit that, you qualify for nationals.
Yeah.
It's as long as you have to go to a qualifying event, which you could go to East Coast Gold. They do a couple of them a year, or travel around. It's not that hard to qualify. The difference is once you're at nationals, you could have like 20 people in your group, and there's a low range of a few people that just qualified and they're not really pushing competitive weight. Then there's a mid group where everybody's kind of competing, but then there's like 2 or 3
that are like way
They're
animals. that
like,
are
we're going,
that like Olympic. They're moving huge weights.
And that's the only reason why I went to 55, because 55 was still competitive, but 59 was like animals, like on animal. And I was just like, if I'm going to pay the money and fly out here and compete, like we're going to, I want to, like, I want to try and medal, like who doesn't?
Yeah.
So it was, man, it was.
Gosh,
I told her,
what
I
a
was like,
time
you
to
got
be
to do it.
alive.
Like I was like, the experience alone is just, like it's fun.
It's in
Valley Forge. Is it this year? She thought it was in Pennsylvania, and I was like, oh.
I think it is.
Yeah.
She mentioned.
That's
She's like, we could
by
just
my
drive
house.
there.
That's by my house.
I'm like, well, if you qualify, so like, we'll go.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll go.
yeah.
Go
That'd
eat a
be fun.
cheesesteak after.
I would do it too, but they've separated. You actually do juniors up until 25.
Yeah.
They've separated though. It used to all be at the same time.
Really?
And they keep changing it, but it's split up different. So like masters wouldn't be at the same time. It's at a different location too now. So
Well, and so a lot of things changed because also, so like in the before, way back, not that long ago, but so if we were all in the same weight class, you medaled based on like how much, like if you weighed more than me, but I weighed more than you, but you lifted the same weight, you technically lifted more because you weighed
Per
less.
pound.
Yeah.
But then they changed it, and it's whoever lifts the heaviest weight first. So we could both lift 135, but if I did it on the platform first, I get the gold medal, and you get the silver. And so
Is that why they have such a competitive back and forth about like?
That's why a lot of people would like
change their
up.
clean and jerks, or like they change their weights around because they have to be higher than that person.
yeah, you want to. Well, you got to
It's
make
a lot of difference.
You got to make that decision because if she hits that weight and you're like,
Do I want to get
I
in, get
don't
a
know.
gold, like,
I
or
could-
do I want to go 1 kilo
Right.
up and just
Yeah.
get the gold?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like, do I go up and try to beat her? Do I match it and get second place and get the silver?
And what does that look like for me in my year?
Yeah, because
Oh
it could
my
be
gosh.
because it could
That's
be
a
1
lot.
pound
I'm
down.
stressed.
It could be 1 pound down or 1 kilo down, and you're either
I'm already in
bronze or
second.
off the podium.
Right,
But if
right.
you match it, she lifted it first, but you still get silver.
Interesting.
So it can get kind of complicated.
gosh.
And there's
So-
3 medals for each one because you
Yeah.
got clean and jerk, snatch, and then your total.
Yeah.
It's 3 separate medals.
so
Oh my gosh.
yeah, they're all in like Riyadh right now. aren't
Yeah.
they? I
It's,
thought,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and there's no money in it. Maybe from sponsors.
Well,
here and there,
USAW. That's why I tell people, I'm like, if you get, I'm like, my husband's like, he's not doing it. I'm like, bullshit. He's gonna be lifting as soon as he can pick up a bar.
There we go.
Like the USAW will pay kids $60K a year.
Really?
If they compete just for
This is
them.
the sport-
Like CJ Cummings, because
Ooh.
he played for Buford.
from Buford,
He
yeah.
went to Buford, and because we
man-
played Buford all the time in football,
Yes.
and they used to try and get him to play football, and he's like,
He was like, hell no.
yeah.
I wish that's
He's an animal.
Yeah,
that's the
he's
sport
a
that
monster.
if they could add to high schools, I would love.
I would love to see that.
because there's so much discipline in it and politeness and like there's just rules to it.
sportsmanship. And
Yeah.
like,
Like,
even
that's
the
why,
game. I like that.
Yeah, like it's don't like, and if you ever notice, because I don't like to like ask people, because I feel like we talked about this the other day. Caitlin was like, I hate when people walk in front of me when I'm doing 1 RMs.
yeah.
And so like I don't want to be that person, because I know some people just don't know, and I don't want to like seem like, but if we ever have 1 RM lifts, I'm always
In the
right
front,
there,
yeah, you're like,
because I'm
nobody's
like,
walking in
I
front of me.
can't, yeah, like I have to focus. And so like I think I probably did it. I try to do it in every Ollie class. I'm like, what's your setup? What are you doing? Like you should find your place to look at, and then you should set your
Yeah.
feet to the bar. Don't do this crap and move the bar, because it's not going to be in the same place every single time. You're not Maddie
Yes.
Rogers. Don't do it. Set your feet.
She's
put your
done,
hands.
whatever she's done for 12, 15
Put your
years
hands
now.
on the bar, and then look at your plate. Like look at your spot. It's
And
like,
then
and then take your breath and get tight and go.
I was telling someone the other day, they
And-
were joshing me. It was when we were testing the workouts on last Friday. They were joshing me because I always have like a little foot kick. And I'm like, this is just like my setup. Like when I get to the bar,
Oh, yeah.
I put my left hand, I put my right hand, I kick my right foot out, and then like I load
You
and
know
I go.
what we were pointing out is every one
Every
of you
woman-
girls in here does the little foot
But
thing.
it's like, that's like going to the batter's box, right? Like that's my routine. Like I'm
Yeah.
getting in the batter's box.
There's
I do
people
the
that like
same
stomp
thing
their
every
feet
time.
or do whatever. Yeah.
If you watch Tia Claire Toomey, she stomps the back of the mat
Yeah.
platform.
Maddie
every
Rogers
time.
spins the bar.
Yep, she spins the bar. She does her little.
Yep.
But it's like that's just part of your. That's
It's
getting
a setup.
you in your zone
Yeah.
to lift. I'm like, don't hate on people like that.
yeah. No,
I like-
it is true though.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Like I try and just, it's just reiteration.
I
Like,
don't like
do
looking
it,
at people either,
do it,
though. I'm
do
with
it,
you.
do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need, like this needs to be consistent, because you need to treat 65 pounds like it's 175
Thank you.
pounds, because and that's the same thing. Like even when Amanda Hobart, or not Amanda Hobart, Jesus, Amanda Barnes. Why didn't just
That was
combined two
close,
separate
very
people.
close.
Yeah, right. So the year they had the 1 RM, I think it was the clean,
Yeah.
right? And and number one, it was like Tia just had competed at the Olympics for Australia. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's gonna get this one.
Yeah.
But
Facts.
anyway, Amanda Hobart, Amanda Barnes.
Barnhart. That's why you're.
Barnhart.
Yeah, that's why you're.
Man,
yeah,
okay.
I'm with you.
Amanda Barnhart is pretty freaking strong.
Yeah.
But so like, and I know some people talk about this. They'll be like, oh well, like if we have 1 RMs, they're like, I'm not gonna squat clean. Like I'm gonna power until I get heavy. And I'm like, you understand that like you need to warm up your body and the
Can't do that.
movement.
No,
like
your
muscle
central nervous
recruitment
system.
alone. Like you're doing
Yes.
it for muscle recruitment, but then also like. And especially in a snatch, you're catching it up here, like body awareness, and catching it in the bottom, and not preparing
1000%
yourself.
different.
Like you need to do a full squat snatch at 65 pounds, 75, all the way up,
Yep.
because the movement is muscle memory, and it's warming your body and priming it to get to
My
the
brain
heavier
won't
movement.
let me. Like if I can go from squat cleans to power cleans, but
But
I
the opposite.
cannot do the opposite.
I can't do it. Like it will crush you.
Yes, my
Like
coach used to make me do that. She used to make me go from power cleans. Like I would have we'll just say like an ascending ladder, and I'd have to do 5 power cleans, 5 squat cleans, add weight, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, and like that really does like mess you
Yeah.
up mentally. But it makes a huge difference when I'm like warming up for 1 RM. Like just like you said, my central nervous system would be booked if I powered until I was ready to squat. Like my legs wouldn't know what to do. They've not
Well,
warmed up for the
I
last
think-
10 minutes.
And I think Training Think Tank just did a podcast on this too, and they were like the people with Travis.
Ooh,
Yeah, and he
yeah,
was
mhm.
like, because I'm not gonna lie, when I first started out, I thought about it before the open workouts. I'm like, oh, like
Yep.
you don't want to do a long warm up because you don't want to waste the energy.
No, yeah, they just did this. Yep.
No,
You wanna get your
Like,
body
if
ready.
you think you're gonna use it all in the warm up, you're
You're
so
Right.
wrong.
Let's
Like,
be
I was
honest,
like,
nobody's
when
working
we
that
do,
hard.
like when we do the 1 RMs, the 7x1 heavies, I was like, oh my god, I was like, how am I gonna get warm enough for this?
Yes.
And I was like, anytime we have heavy squats, heavy 1 RMs, anything, I'm usually in the gym. I try to be, maybe not at 5:30, but I try to be in the gym at least 10 minutes early, because I row and I do my whole warm up takes at least 15 minutes. And I'm like, and I like, and I'm biased. I like the row because I feel like it initiates like the deadlift, the pull, everything
does,
else.
yeah.
And so like, but if you want to ride the bike, everybody's different. So do what you need to, but like warming, like getting your body ready. And it is like you have a shoulder issue, so you might need to do more like shoulder primers before you do a snatch. And so that's fine, but don't think because I did a warm up for 10 to 15 minutes, I'm not going to be able to make it and like do. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
It's wild. Like people don't realize like, and I've been trying to use this word a lot recently. Like we're priming the body to do what we want it to do.
The word for the month is prime.
Yeah. September is Prime Month, and not Amazon. That's for the gym. And it's like it's crazy to me. Like people don't go run a marathon cold.
No.
Like absolutely not. Like, and you think about that, you're like, or people are like, oh, I'm just gonna go for a run today, and they do nothing to warm up, and it's like your muscles have not like recruited like the nerves that they need. The small, like, fast twitch muscles that they need. Like, there's so many things that we need to do to get our body just, like, ready for movement.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to do that, then all of us would wake up at 5:30 a.m., roll out of bed, and lift our 1RM, which is impossible. Like, it's so, so important. I don't know why people think, they're like, I don't want to do an interval of the workout before.
I don't want to waste my double unders.
Yeah, I'm like, shut up. Do the interval. You need this, trust me.
Yeah.
And then you're not like shell shocked when you get into the workout. Like,
I mean,
makes a huge
in reality,
difference.
sometimes I wish the class was longer, so you had more time to do more warming
agree.
up. Like the running
I
workout.
made the joke, was it the other day or when you were there? I was like, I need a master's class, an hour
and a half,
and
baby.
15 minutes just for an extra 15-minute warm up,
like
please.
when we took
Thank
off
you.
out the door in that running workout the
Yeah.
other day, I'm like, we didn't even run to warm up.
We didn't even
what
run
am I doing?
Yeah, I'm hurting.
And then on
But-
the second one, I'm like, that's why my leg's cramping.
I think that workout,
True.
they just redid it this year, I think in the open, the wall balls and rowing workout. I love that one. I honestly, the first
Oh
time
my
I did
gosh,
it, I
you're
didn't
psycho.
hate it. And I was like, I can't remember how much I rode beforehand, but I did like almost intervals to warm up. And I did something else because they were like, if you don't warm up, your legs are going to blow up
lactic
at like
acid.
round 2. And the guy was judging me in Charleston. I was like, do not let me put down the ball. I was like, it's 22 wall balls. I can suck it up. I was like, if I get to 15, I'm not one that needs to be like yelled at because I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you better tell me not to put down that ball. Like, don't let me put down that ball.
Kelly.
Like, I was like, because the rower is going to slow me down. I was like, I'm not tall.
I gotta make my time where I can.
I can get good pulls, but I'm not that tall. So I was like, we're going to make it up.
Well, if you ever need somebody to
But-
tell you the right thing, yeah.
Everyone
I might be
raves
afraid
about
of
Chris.
you. I might be afraid of you.
Like, Chris will just be in my ear and be like, stop being a little bitch.
And they're
say
like,
that to
and then they'll
myself.
tell me later, where did you come from?
Yeah, I say that to myself all the time, like
that the
mainly,
Lord?
especially
Yeah.
before heavy lifts. I'm like, don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so like, it's funny. But yeah, so, but I also got more into Ollie, I will say. So, because I wanted to compete in CrossFit. Like I really did. I mean, I started in 2012, which was like, early.
The early years, yeah.
I mean, you remember, I don't know if you watched the documentary, like the first few years when they had like Panda Express as like their sponsor in the background, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
bring,
like-
bring that back. I did like that.
Bring back the
Yeah,
orange
so-
chicken.
I love an orange chicken.
I was like, but I didn't even want to go individual. Like I wanted to do team. Like I like the team aspect, but that was when you had 6s. So
that was
you
wild.
needed
Yeah.
3 girls and 3. That was when
That's
Maddie
hard.
Rogers competed.
Yeah, she was a
if you
team.
remember, because she
Yeah.
was like, they had snatches, and the individual snatches are usually heavier than but like. She was blaring through the snatches and the weights, and all the other teams are like on the first barbell.
Yes.
The first person, she's just standing at the end, like, "What y'all doing? Y'all coming? I'm
Yeah.
here. Like, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, we can do team. But like even well, I mean, I will say now too, like women make or break your team a lot of the time.
100%.
Like it's always
There's
the women.
no-
Like you need,
Yep.
but I mean, it's honestly, it's understandable.
Women are making or breaking men all the time.
but I mean, competitively, like
It just keeps going.
like the joke,
gosh.
like
That's going in the clips.
oh god, because we were at our old gym and we were trying to be like, okay, who could we like try and recruit? 6 people's a lot for a team. Like
We can barely find
and
4.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like you were talking about it last time, and I'm like, it's it's one thing to dedicate yourself to be able to do everything you need to do, but to find 3 other people
wanna do the
who
same
are
thing.
actually ready to be like, I'm gonna dedicate and like not let you down, because that's tough. Like, because you're now putting forth so much energy and effort of your time to do this thing, and you're hoping that they are
Other
doing
people
the
are doing
same
the
thing,
same.
and if they don't,
Yeah.
then you're like, I just wasted
all this
all this
effort and
time.
energy and like mental capacity.
Exactly.
Well, there's been a huge shift because there was a time where it was 6 people that had day-to-day jobs, that had
Yes.
lives.
Well, and
so
then
they could do a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
Maybe some days they couldn't
And then
work
it was
out, or
only
they'd
at
work
that
out.
gym.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where now you got people that through sponsorships, or maybe their
Yeah.
spouse makes enough money and they're like, hey, take 2 years, give it all you got.
Yeah.
And they don't have to work, and it's
Changes the game.
it's their occupation.
Yeah.
So now it's completely different.
It's really wild to think about, like, the things that, and I don't feel like I had to sacrifice a lot of things, personally, but even like just for semifinals, like, there are just things that I could not do anymore, and like I needed to make sure I got my training in. If we were on family vacation, then I have 3 hours of the day where I'm not going to be there with you. I'm sorry.
And
Like,
that's how
have
I
to do
was
it.
like,
Yeah, when
I
you're-
was like, I'll be back home in Jersey. Where's the closest gym? I need to
Yes.
find, and then like, or like, my husband in, like, we're like, okay, she's gonna be gone, and why do you have to be at the gym for so long? Like, I go to work out. I'm like, you go to work out, I go to train. There's a difference. Like, and I hate to be like that, but I was
Yes.
like, I'm training to compete. Like, and now, like, I still want to compete. Oh, there's a competitive side of me, but also
You gonna do the Trident games?
I
Shameless plug.
I'm going to judge. No reps.
Hey,
Can we all?
That's it.
Oh my gosh! I'm getting us all Hiller no rep shirts for the judges.
I'm telling you right now, for those of you that are signing up for the Trident Games, especially the RX athletes, your judging is going to be legit. We will make sure we're on point before the event
Oh, yeah,
each
don't you
one
worry.
starts. But there are going to be
No slack given.
because you're
So-
yeah.
Yeah. But I would just like, now it's, I don't know, like, I go home and I take my son for a walk, and like, priorities change.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
life does that.
And I'm
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
like, man, like,
This makes me.
I don't even want to work. I want to just,
Yeah.
but I'm also like, I want to have my sanity. So you need to go to daycare.
Facts.
But yeah, but like, I can't, finding 2 to 3 hours a day to train
So tough.
is tough. And so like, cause like when I started out at Charleston, before I started to cut weight, clearly wildly wild, I couldn't have lost weight to begin with. I was coaching, so I was gonna buy the gym, but didn't happen. That's a long story, won't go into it. And then a couple bought it, and I basically run it. I did the programming. I coached about 15 out of the 25 classes a week. Like, I was there all the time if I wasn't at the school. And I was working out from 4 to 6 in the morning.
Oh my
So
God. God bless you.
I was like, I don't even know how I was sleeping. Like, I was not. It was maybe
Yeah.
5 hours. Like, I would, because
That's
like,
not healthy.
that's
Yeah.
not,
not healthy.
It's not. And I was just like, team no sleep is like college all over again. We'll be okay. So I was, and I mean, at that time I was dating like, we never saw each other.
Yeah.
Like, and so, and I talked to, I started, she's like, you got to make sleep a priority, dude. It's not going to
It
happen.
makes a huge difference.
And
in
it
everything.
does. And so I started to, and I will say, like, he was in San Diego then, so I guess it was a little easier. But, because I was like, I'm going to bed at this time.
Good night, love you, bye.
Yeah, so, but I made it a priority, and just, I trained, and then, well, luckily we picked up another coach, and so he took on some more classes when I had to start cutting because I needed to sleep. And so, but yeah, the 4 to 6 was rough. I would come work out from 4 to 6, coach to 6, coach to 7:15. Like, I was late to school. I'd get there about 8:30. But I didn't have kids technically. I prepped first, so I didn't have kids until like 10. And so I taught from 10 till about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then I'd start athletics at 3 o'clock, and that would go till earliest 7 p.m., latest 11.
Oh.
And so that's a long day
That's
doing
a
it every
long-
day.
And like, you just like we were talking about recently, like, you're not like sitting down, like
No.
you're and like maybe you don't realize that you're like actively moving, but like just walking around for an hour is probably close to 10,000 steps. Like, that's a lot of activity.
Yep. And
Oh
like
my
demonstrating.
gosh.
And then so I wanted to do that, and I was like, and we were trying to find people, and it was just tough to find a team because at that point it was still the people had to be at your gym. and there weren't people who were as dedicated, and so it was tough. I mean, we were, I think in that year 2018, I think we were like only 5 positions out of regionals. Yeah, so it wasn't bad.
No.
But you know, but then once they changed it to like super teams and all that stuff, I was like, man, I'm getting too old for this. So that's why I was like, Ollie, baby, weight classes and age groups, let's go.
That's hilarious.
So it's like the retirement plan.
The CrossFit retirement.
That's pretty badass retirement plan.
But you drift back, so
yeah.
But hey, that's a good segue though, because you're bringing up like your priorities changed.
Yeah.
So
wait, can we take a? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask.
Yeah. Because I gotta pee. I'm sorry. It's always
you. You got
me.
the bladder of a freaking squirrel. You got the bladder of a hamster-sized
you
dog.
didn't have coffee. No, I'm like,
all right. We'll take a quick break and we'll get back into the main topic.
Yeah.
All right.
basically close to your 1RM clean. So
Interesting.
yeah.
I think I've front squatted 230 by 3. I think. I guess I should be able to if I've done it from a clean. I don't know.
Maybe. Theories are great. Now you got to put it into practice.
I'm not prepared for any of that.
All right.
Testing a 1RM makes me scared these days.
I don't like 1RMs that much. Men do well on 1RMs.
I like build to a heavy. There's no pressure there.
Women do better on high, like more reps with higher weight.
Yeah, than PR.
Yeah. All right. So
Get back in our
we got
segue.
the thorough background. That was a lot of good information.
Sorry,
yeah.
that was a lot.
No, it's
I did
really
learn a
good.
lot.
Everyone wants to know more about the coaches, so that's a good thing.
And you know what? Wherever they
lead.
Exactly. So, all right. So let's get into why people start CrossFit.
Oh man.
I'll kind of lead it off with this. When I was thinking about this after we decided what the topic was going to be and doing this podcast or this episode, is I thought, I don't know how many people actually decide like CrossFit per se, more as ultimately their ultimate goal is they're looking for something to help themselves be fitter, lose weight, whatever that is, right? Overcome something. So then they start looking for something. So that's one angle is it's just to lose weight. You know, I joke it's to look better naked.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honest.
So I think I don't know. I think from a jumping off standpoint, I think most people decide on CrossFit because they're looking for something to get fitter, and they somehow come across CrossFit, whether it's they see it on YouTube or driving. You know, they're getting ready to go next door, and I watch all these people getting ready to go drink beer next door, and I see them look, or they see us doing crazy shit, and they're like, "What are they doing?" Or a friend tells them about it.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think?
I was trying to think back to like when I got into CrossFit. I feel like it's if you're an athlete, like Kelly said earlier, if you have a little bit of competitiveness in you, you just want something competitive, and CrossFit's like a
Fill a void.
it's like a not a low hanging fruit per se, but it's a really good thing to get into that's going to keep you fit, and then you can also be slightly competitive, even if it's just with people in your gym. But the majority of the people that come in here, they're like, I just want to lose weight and I just want to be fit. Like, I want to be able to play with my kids and not have to worry about like catching my breath kind of thing.
Yeah. Or
that's
grandkids.
the majority. Yeah, or grandkids.
Yeah.
That's what I hear a lot of, at least being on the business owner side of things.
Yeah.
But I think also like to that extent, I don't want to see it to like I think people find CrossFit sometimes and they find it at first, but I also think it's I guess a secondary for, I can't think of the word that I don't want to use right now, but like you pay $10. That's why I tell people, like, you pay $10 to go to Planet Fitness.
You get $10
because you don't get to
value.
drop weight. But but like, okay, let's say you go to Crunch.
Yes.
So you get to drop weight over there. Let's say you pay like $30 an hour or $30 a month, and you get to use their tandem beds and stuff. But you have to go in. You have to know what you're gonna do. You have to like what am I gonna work today? How many reps and sets am I gonna do? What like, and you don't like, you gotta
Nobody
look at
knows
the
that.
picture on the machine.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, this is what I gotta do. And so like, you know,
So
you
you're
get tired
talking
of it.
from the standpoint of somebody that doesn't know
Like tried
what to
it out.
do.
Yeah, they tried it out, and they're like,
get
"This isn't
value.
working." Because, like, I mean, I even had people who like, well, "Why? If you're a coach, why do you have a coach?" Because I don't want to have to coach myself. I need somebody. I want somebody else to think about it. I want to be told what to do because I already do that for everybody else.
Yes.
And so, like, also, I would probably, but maybe not as much as he does. Like, I wouldn't push myself as much, you know.
I
And so,
program
like,
all my strengths every week.
yeah, like, you know, and so as in CrossFit, I know it gets a bad rep, and I hate it because I worked in the school system for 10 years, high school. And I mean, when you were in high school, it was probably the same. Like, football team was the only one that got the strength program.
Yep.
Everybody else kind of got back by the wayside.
The baseball team wasn't allowed to lift.
Yeah, like, and it's the
It was told
thing.
not
So
to
the
lift.
wrestling team was at our school, but that was because the football coach was a wrestling coach.
Same.
Yeah.
So, but like, now they have weightlifting class as PE class, like, and it's like awesome. But also, those people don't have to be like, they just have to have a PE degree. They don't have to be like Ollie certified or like whatever. Yes, that face, exactly. And so there are people like that put a workout up on a whiteboard and that doesn't come off because it's been there for 10 years because the kids do the same workout every day for how long. And so, and then you're also like, what kind of coaching are you getting? Like, you're paying money because you're getting a coach who's going to instruct you. You're getting programming, number one, that's going to tell you what you're going to do. And then you're going to get a coach that's going to help you better either improve your form for a movement. And if you don't know how to do the movement, we're going to know how to scale it to give you what you can still get the stimulus for. And so, and that's huge. Like, oh, I don't want to pay that money. Okay, well then go pay your $10 and you figure it out, because I can guarantee you're probably going to be there an hour and you're probably going to twiddle your thumbs for 30 minutes trying to figure out what you're going to do. And then, like, because especially women, I remember when I was at Goose Creek, they'd be like, how do you stay so fit? Like, do you just run? And I'm like, no, like, constantly very functional movements all the time. Like, that's how you stay. Your body never gets acclimated. Like, you're not just walking 30 minutes every single day, because eventually in the beginning it's the same thing as CrossFit. You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to start to lose weight just walking, because you haven't done it before. But then after you do it every day, nothing's going to change. Your body's used to it. And so I think, number one, I think they do find it to get fit and just improve general health and fitness, because maybe either they want to or their doctor told them, like,
but then it starts to grow and change.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, though, Kelly, too. Like, some people, I do think, come to CrossFit for those underlying reasons, right? Like, we all get it. Like, everyone wants to feel good, look good, cool, but they don't want to think about what they're doing. And they don't want to have to, like, I don't want to hit buys and tries and back and legs, and I don't want to think about what those movements look like every day of the week. And I can come to CrossFit and someone's going to tell me what to do. The program's going to be fluid, hopefully. Like, your coaches are going to keep you safe.
I'm going to be in and out in an hour.
Yeah. And, like, I'm going to get something out of it way more than I would if I was, like, trying to do it on my own. That's a really good point.
So I think that's the initial thing, is that, like, for the most people, like, we'll say the prior athletes aside, right?
Right.
Because they usually pick up
That's
on
a
that.
little
Like,
different.
they see the CrossFit games, like, oh, that looks cool. So they're just a general, the majority of people coming in just to get fitter. Then once they're in here, they see the advantage. Oh, I can just walk in. I do my hour. I'm told what to do. I can forget about the world.
Yeah.
You know, if they allow themselves to put the phone away and all that.
Yeah.
Do their hour, and they've accomplished the goal of getting some fitness in, and then they go about their lives. Then we start. So that goes into, like, the what's your why, right? So that why changes. Initially, my why is because I want to get healthy, right? Well, then that why changes because you start coming, and there's the social aspect of a CrossFit gym. You start making friends.
Oh, the people, the environment.
Like, you usually have a group of people. Like, Dan and I are always like, when you're working out, when you're working out. And
well, also, like, the people of, like, a community of, like, hey, we have a barbecue on Memorial Day Murph or something. But like, also, like, he's like, you have somebody that's around your level, like, I want to compete with you, so what class are you going to? Like, there's so many levels to the community in CrossFit that it's not just one thing. And, like, because, like, even at my old gym, like, we had a guy that owned his own industrial company. Like, I needed something done on my house, he came and helped me out. Like, we have a guy, like, you have people, like, we had an opera singer. Like, I would never, like, what, you have so many people from so many different, like, backgrounds and aspects of life that you wouldn't probably have never met.
Never met.
And it's awesome.
That's what I was telling Terrence that came in the other day to do his first CrossFit class.
Yeah.
I was telling him, you're going to see so many walks of life. Like, obviously, you're going to have a lot of military in here because of the area. I said, but I was like, we've got doctors in here. We got lawyers in here. We got real estate developers. You got police officers. I was like, she's a freaking detective. And like, I was like, the amount of people and the difference. We got a heart surgeon in this place.
Yeah.
You know, involved. Like, and then, that social aspect, like, give you an example is I didn't do it. I didn't think of it. I tried to get with him. I tried to reach out. I have his number. I tried to hit him up on Facebook, but he's like, dude, I never check it. Right before my son started Fire Academy, he went for an EKG and they thought there was something weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, did some research. It's nothing, but they wouldn't clear him until he saw a doctor, right? And he's like, dude, you should have just came to the clinic. I would have signed it off right there. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's those kind of things that, like, you start, like, it's this network you develop of people, right? So then your why kind of starts to change in that old social aspect of, because there's an accountability. People are like, where you been?
Yeah.
Where
are you
at?
at?
Oh my gosh.
And people do that all the time. Like, where have they been? Oh, well, he's been over at Harborview
So-and-so's
instead
here.
of.
Yeah. And there's like, just like you said with the community levels inside the gym, like how you're talking about the community levels outside of the gym. Like, hopefully you never need to know a detective, but now you know a detective.
Do I need
now
to get out of a parking ticket?
Now you know all these people, and it's like all of a sudden your community that seems so, like outside of these walls, that seems so far out of reach, like it's not so far out of reach. Like we're all like one big happy family. Like the world's a lot smaller than we think as you get to know people and the community grows, and like you start going to, you know, so-and-so to help you with their real estate. You start going to so-and-so because they work on cars. And it's like all of a sudden your community that was only in between these four walls is now spread into your life outside of here. So like the joy and the fulfillment and the things that you're getting out of it completely change, and I would say like completely add value well outside of the money that you're spending just here.
I mean, well, and that's like, because PTs are here. Like, I'm an athletic trainer, and I mean, I definitely don't announce it. I know some people are like, oh, and I'm
Kelly,
like, I'm just very quiet. Like, I
guess
really
you're done
am.
for now because
Like, I'm like, I like to get, like, you know, I like to know my surroundings, I guess, before I start.
You did
know,
a quick assessment on me that day. I strained my quad. You did a couple things. You're like, okay, I'm straining your quad.
Yeah, I've
Shut
been
it
around
down.
the block a couple times. So, so it's just, I don't know, but you got PTs here, like, okay, well, oh, this is bothering you, like, hit up Colby, and he'd probably fit him in because he comes to this gym.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
hey, I just did something doing squats. Can you? Yep, okay. Like, it makes you feel, not, I guess, for lack of a better word, but it makes you feel important, like that you matter with other people.
Yes.
Like, because it's not like I have to go through all these avenues to get this done. Like, you have these people accessible to you.
At your fingertips,
yeah,
basically.
and so it's not like, do I have to set up this doctor's appointment and wait 3 months to go see them when, like,
someone I don't know who doesn't do CrossFit.
And then, like, and honestly, that's what, like, so I didn't, I'll just mention this real quick, but I did kind of get into, I took classes and stuff on CEUs on postpartum and pregnancy fitness, because when I had my hernia repairs, doctor was great. I had seen one guy before him, and good Lord. But like, I saw this other guy, he did my repair, and then, you know, they're like, you know, don't lift anything for 2 to 4 weeks, whatever, 2 weeks. And then I come back from my eval or follow up, and he's like, all right, you can go back to what you were doing. And I was like, and
no,
the
I
athletic trainer
cannot.
in me, I was like, no, I don't think I can. And I was like, and his PA or whatever, the med student was like, you do CrossFit? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't go back to that. And I was like, not right now.
You're like,
you know?
ever?
Yeah.
And wait,
Yeah, and
ever?
I was like, well, he meant like right now. And I was like, yeah, I figured. And so, like, there's a gradual, like, progression to everything. And so I got into, and I thought about it, and I'm like, man, if it's like this for having a hernia repair, what's it like for the women that go through pregnancy? You know? And I feel like CrossFit is also one of those fitness industries or programs, I guess you could say, that has tried to open the door or do more research into fitness with pregnancy, because I feel like, I know they're global gyms, so they're not really probably doing that, but, like, you know, they have articles out, and they try, and there are people who work with CrossFit to try and do the classes on women who are pregnant to still work out and keep their health up, because that's important. Like,
I mean, that could be a why right there, is that, like, why do you still come if you're pregnant, is because studies have shown that pregnancy will go better, your recovery will go better. Like, I know several female CrossFitters that I've watched them work out all the way up till the end. Bridget most recently, and, you know, haven't spoke to her, haven't seen her, but everything I've heard, she's doing great.
And she literally,
You know?
she's told me the other day, right, like, just to give you perspective, like, Bridget averaged like 150, 155 pounds. She was about 185 when she gave birth. And she literally, once I talked to her, she was like, Melissa, I don't know how unfit people give birth. Like, how in the world do these
to,
women,
like, get up from the chair and stuff?
She was like, I was in labor for 2 hours.
She had a vaginal birth. So, like, I had a C-section. I was, well,
and you, like,
They
That's
asked me.
wild.
Well, I had placenta preview, so I couldn't anyway. But I was like, my abdomen's wrecked from the hernias, just tear it open, cut them out. But like,
You got a zipper built
yeah,
in.
like just take them out. But like, afterwards, I had my 3 hernia repairs, and because I did CrossFit and I was in shape, I was at work the next day. I
Yeah,
should
like,
not
I
have
felt
been.
good. Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything and I wasn't lifting, but I was moving around. I was getting up. Like, I was slow, but I wasn't. And I was like, oh, C-section is going to be nothing. It was not. Not
That's
at all.
a major surgery.
Completely different
Yeah.
than the hernia repairs. And I felt like, and I was like, how do people do this? I was 135 before I got pregnant.
Yeah.
I was 200 when I had my C-section. I was 37 weeks at 200 pounds.
Oh my
I still had
gosh.
3 more weeks to go. I was all stomach. Like, I could show you a picture in my stomach. It was
God
like,
bless
boom.
you.
I could stand from you look from me in the back and you would not know I was
That's
pregnant.
Bridget all the way.
And then like sideways, you were like, holy crap.
This lady
Like,
needs to turn
yeah,
to enter.
I mean, and so like I was talking to my husband and I was just like, how do people do this? How do unfit people get through
It's
their
crazy.
day? Get through their
Yeah.
day.
How do you even operate in the world? It's
Yeah, like-
wild to me.
It takes so much more energy.
Yes.
Like the only thing that got me through pregnancy, because my coach was like, oh, my wife lifted heavier, and I was like, yes, that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. My body will know how to hold 200 pounds once I'm done, so I should be able
We
to
are
clear
proving.
there.
Yeah.
You should be a
200
master.
pounds.
You should be a
It's a
master at
sandbag
sandbag carries.
I was like, do it.
Yeah. So I mean that why right there is that like you want a better pregnancy, right?
Yes.
You want a better recovery.
Easier
You know?
It's the better. I
recovery.
think what you're saying too is like, it's the better. We want better. And somebody just sent me a video on Instagram earlier before we started the podcast, and it was what I briefly watched was talking about how CrossFitters are typically outside more. They're a little bit healthier. They're doing this. They're doing that. Like, typically once you're in here, it doesn't stop in here. Like, you want to be better for whatever X, Y, and Z is. And just like you said, our whys change based upon what we're trying to focus on at our point in life at that moment. And that's something that I truly love about CrossFit is how it just spreads from, like, my whole life is this now. Obviously, I own a gym, but, like, even outside of that, even before that, like, all I could think about every day was coming to the gym and the people that I would see there and, like, the progress that I would make and how can I make, you know, this better and how can I do this better for my family and how can I, like, whatever it is, like, better serve what I'm trying to work towards at that moment.
And see, that's where that why changes, right? So once you get into CrossFit and you like coming to the gym and you're kind of addicted to it, you're however many days a week you go and your time and the people you see, now your why start to change into you want to deadlift a certain weight, you want to back squat a certain weight, you be able to snatch. Then you start, then everybody always wants the sexy stuff. They want to be able to do butterfly pull-ups. They want to be able to do ring muscle-ups. They wanna
Man,
do
if I
bar
can get back to
muscle-ups.
butterfly pull-ups and toes to bar,
Yeah.
man.
Toes to bar. So people want to do those things, and it's cool to see when people, you watch people's whys. And when somebody can't say, let's say toe to bar, right? I'm thinking of a specific person who I told her the other night, I said, it's pretty cool to see when I was coaching you 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, you couldn't even do a toe to bar. To watch you progress to where you're stringing 10 plus together in a workout.
It's wild.
And so that why clicked into, I'm here because I want to do this. That's my why. I want to get better at all these things, right? And what's interesting, though, is that people want to be able to do those things, right? Only because they want to be able to do them. But in reality, I don't think they realize if you're able to do those things, you're actually getting even more of a workout closer to RX. Not saying you have to RX,
No.
but you're getting stronger and stronger. So the more difficult moves you can get, as those moves become more like in your wheelhouse,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Within
say
the stimulus
easy,
range.
right? Within that stimulus range, but the more work you're getting,
No, I
right?
agree.
The more
Right.
intense it is, because a toe to bar is more difficult than a straight leg raise or a knee raise or a sit up.
Well, like
So
the
if
other
you're
day
able to
with
do 'em, you're
the
getting more
toe to
work.
bar minute, whatever, death by minute, whatever it was.
Yes.
I did toes
Toes
to
to
rings
ring.
because we only had a minute and I wanted to get as many as possible. And I know toes to bar is really hard for me to connect right now, but I knew I could get more on toes to rings because I have a little more give. So I did toes to rings and got 13
As
in
a
each
sidebar,
minute.
I love toes to ring. I could stay up there all day.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
All day.
And so I was like, but for me, because like still working back from my son, I'm trying to take my time.
Yeah.
And like
You
my
should.
abs are still sore.
Yeah.
And I was like,
You
that
still
was a
got the
good
workout.
like I got the workout.
Yeah.
So that's what I needed. Because if I did a minute and I did 4 toes to bar in a minute, that wouldn't have been
And I really do-
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like, but I also think like CrossFit people come back because there's so much. It's
Yeah,
not,
you're never gonna
it's
perfect
not
one
just
thing.
and don't get me wrong, snatch and clean and jerk like take a long time. People do it for decades
Yes.
to get better at it. But it's not just 2 things. There's gymnastics, there's cardio like running and rowing and ski, like erging, whatever. And then there's pull-ups or things on the bar. There's
Skills.
so
Yeah, it's
many
so
things
crazy.
to get better at. And that's the thing, like you can focus on one, but you can't forget about the rest.
No.
Yep.
And that's why you also come back, because you're like, oh, you see the progress, and then you're like, well, if I can get better at this, I'm gonna get better at something
Yeah,
else.
I want this,
Yep.
or I got this, now I want to get this.
Yeah.
It's like a constant, like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this.
And then they
I,
keep adding things too.
Yes, that's like, I think,
I'm waiting
and-
for the max. You ever did those in elementary school? The boys had to do the pull-ups, and the girls had to do like the max chin-up
Chin-ups.
hold.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a max chin-up hold.
I do not want that. But thinking about like when we want something, right? Like, and again, we talked about this in the podcast with Dan, like leaning on your coaches to figure out like what's the best next thing. I got some people that want bar muscle ups and they can't do strict pull-ups. I'm like, you're not going to get one. You know what? Maybe you will. Maybe by the grace of God, like it just happens and you can connect them. I don't know, but like having a coach and like what you're paying for each month, although it seems
Exactly. Use
expensive,
them. That's what you're paying
you're
for.
using this as a value add to you. Let them guide you and let them tell you when it's a time to work on those things
And a
in
time
a
not to.
class or not. Like
Yep.
we said it today. Today is not the day to be working on your double unders in the workout. Okay, if you don't have them, you're not doing them. Like, but there are some days when we come in and we're like, hey, if you want to practice your double unders, like give it this much time. You can kind of
Right.
finagle around with them, and like you'll still get the stimulus.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think people use the coaches enough. Like, I really don't think they
Man.
use all the knowledge that we have with our coaches. They don't pick people's brains enough. And I wish they would. I mean, I
And
don't want to
even
bombard
then-
y'all. Maybe
no.
that'll help me. But,
but even then, like, it's not even as a coach, like I struggled, like I told you, like I had the strength but the body awareness for gymnastics,
Yes.
like strict, like my coach, like the guys that I used to coach with, they're like, you can do a strict handstand push-up, there's no way you can't do a strict handstand push-up. And I
Right.
just could not find the positioning to do the the tripod, like
The fit-
just
yeah.
the push-up. I couldn't do it. And I was like, all right, like I bought a program to help like find the kinesthetic awareness and then the strength and everything else. And I did the program after a couple weeks and I got some.
yeah.
And like, and that's the thing, like even as a coach, I'm not afraid to be like, I don't like, I might, this isn't my area. Like, talk to me about some snatches and some clean and jerks. I could talk with you all day.
Yes.
But you want to talk about some gymnastics? I might talk to Paige about it because she did cheerleading for a while. Or like, but you know, like I'm going to find
Yeah.
somebody. Or like,
Right.
yeah, I know you're working on it now too because you said that was your weakness and that's what
Always
you
my
needed. So
weakness.
like you might know because you probably know 15,000 drills because you have to
Yeah,
work
'cause
on
I
it.
have to do them
But
all the
like I'm
time.
going to find somebody that can help you even if I can't find it right now. I'll look, I'll find somebody, I'll find it for you and I'll get your email, whatever you want me to do, I'll send it to you. But like that's why I think especially when we're younger, I guess to like make ourselves look better, we feel like if we have all the knowledge, we don't want to share it type of thing.
Ooh,
And we
yes,
don't
Kelly.
realize that like if we share more, other people are more likely to share with us. And
Yes.
and especially in fitness, I feel like it's so eclectic. Like nothing, there's not a right or wrong way to do things. Like
And
you
it's
said, like
forever
everybody's
changing.
body's different and it's forever changing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so like there are always things that we can either try or use or like this might work for you or this might work for you and it'll help you become a better coach. So
Yes.
like I feel like that's why we should always try to not even just like help the clients but help other coaches if they have questions. Like don't be afraid. And I know I sometimes like you just get in your feelings, you're like, oh man, I don't want to look stupid. But like
Yes.
don't be afraid to ask.
It's okay.
Like it's okay. Like
I'll
we
straight
all
up say, I don't know.
yeah,
I
like we
know.
all
I
start
know.
I
from
can look.
somewhere.
I can find out for you though.
We
Yeah.
all start
know.
from somewhere.
That's the stuff that like people not using the coaches that we have and their knowledge is like it leads them to unrealistic expectations of what they can do or not do.
Yep.
And I feel like some people get a little butthurt sometimes because as a group, we're a good group to be like, that's just not
I think
happening
we're all very
today.
blunt. Like, we don't sugarcoat.
Not
Which
like
is,
in a
I
mean
appreciate.
way.
I appreciate.
But like that's probably
Yeah.
not gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
and
Not
you
right
have
now.
you have to be realistic with people because they're gonna come in here and they're gonna work towards this goal that they're never gonna get if we don't set them up for success. And then they're gonna think the sport of CrossFit did that to them.
Yeah.
Like, CrossFit didn't support me getting X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
And then
maybe
CrossFit
it
gets a
did.
bad name again.
Yeah, like maybe it did, but you just didn't. You didn't do the baby steps and the little things like we talked about in the beginning to get you to that point.
Yeah.
Right.
It's-
Because that ultimate goal might need 10 steps. So that
Exactly.
ultimate
You gotta be okay with
ultimate
that.
macro goal might need 10 micro goals.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, you know, my whole thing I go back to is that in a perfect world, I don't want somebody doing kipping pull-ups unless they can do 3 to 5 strict. Or
Heck no,
whatever
the
that number
ligaments,
might be,
the
right?
ligaments, and
'Cause you
everything
don't
in your
have that
shoulder
health and that
cannot.
strength. Or
But-
worse yet, I've seen people try to do. I've probably already told this story on here. Is having somebody one night doing drills. I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing some drills for bar muscle ups." Like, how many strict pull-ups can you do? Well, none. What
Then why are you doing those?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah, I think that's where people like, and Kelly probably can tell you even more so, being an athletic trainer. Like, there are so many things that need to be refined in these little joints and around these joints. Like, it's not just like our big muscles in our legs. Like, I think we treat all of our muscles like our legs, right? Like, our legs can adapt, I feel like, pretty well. But there are so many things in our shoulders and our biceps and our triceps and our lats and our traps. Like, all of these little muscles that need
Yep.
to be refined before you can start doing these higher level movements. Like,
And and if you think back to the original why, is I was in here to be fitter. If I
Yeah.
get hurt,
I'm
now
not-
I'm not coming, and now I'm not even reaching my initial goal.
Well, and so I think like there was a good. I posted it today by Justin Sua. I don't know if you follow him, but it was like, what's the cost? Like the cost versus the
Ooh.
reward. And
Yes.
so like is
In
your
everything.
your 1 bar muscle up today that you can't do strict pull-ups, but is you making your 1 bar muscle up today, which possibly injures something, is it worth going home and not being able to pick up your son?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth like you know
Now you've
like
backpedaled.
yeah,
Yes.
and so and so
Yes.
like and I only look at it like that because like when I work as an athletic trainer, I had kids who would have a concussion or who weren't cleared, and like this is why I said I would never work in Texas mainly, but I feel like it might be worse. But like coaches would give them their gear back, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
what are you doing? You're
They're
putting that
not
kid's
okay.
life in
Like,
jeopardy.
Brains aren't fully developed till like 25, and I was like, I don't care about your W on Friday night. I care
Ooh.
about this kid living the rest of his life till he's like 85. That's
Right.
what I care about.
Not walking around
His-
like a punch drunk
yeah,
boxer.
yes.
like because all these people, especially even in the shipyard, like they're ex NFL players that are working the shipyard, and they're like, oh, them or like their kids that played football in high school got concussions, but they just didn't know, or like they went back too early. And I'm like, is that one game that your kid's gonna play in really worth like what could cost him something the rest of his life? Like, is your 1 bar muscle up?
Yes.
And you talked about that. Like, after I'm competitive, am I really going to need to bring muscle ups again? Like,
Yeah.
do I want to get them again because I used to have them?
Yeah.
Competitive side in me, yes, I kind of want to get them back. But I'm also like, do I need to?
Do I need to?
Every decision you make has a price, whether it's negative or positive. It has a price. You just might not think about it, and so you really have to think about like what you're coming in and doing. And so like, I want to work on these bar muscle ups. Okay, well, like, or maybe it's like let's just brand perspective. I want to be competitive. Okay, well, do you have the coaches to do it? Like, are you willing to pay for it?
Do you
Do you
have
have
the
the
time?
time?
Do you have
Do
your-
you have the-
do you-
the
do you have-
accessories,
do you have your
the-
parents' basement that you can live in rent free? Because that's about what
Yes.
it's going to take.
Do you have the support
But-
system?
Yeah, but that's
Like-
what I'm saying. Like, because like most of these guys have more than one coach. Like,
Oh
you have a
my
gymnastics
gosh.
specialist, you have an Ollie specialist,
A
you
recovery
have like
specialist.
HWPO
Yeah.
has Matt Frazier, but he also has Amy Everett, who's
Yes.
Ollie, who coaches Maddie Rogers.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't dumb when he built
Yeah.
that company. Like,
No.
he knew what he was doing.
He brought in professionals for like skiing and
type.
rowing,
and
like,
so that's like just think about what you're trying to do. Like, and I say that from a perspective of when I worked out from 4 to 6 in the morning. I was doing snatches, and you would be
Yeah.
like, Kelly, what were you doing?
God bless.
And it was, and I was like, it was, I think it was like 120 and I should have made it like easily, and I was like, and it was off, and I was like, all right, well, I can save it. Didn't save it. Came down, hit me on the back of the neck, and I fell to the ground. Nobody else was there in the gym.
Oh my gosh,
I knew people were coming at 6, and I was
I'll
like,
just lay here till somebody comes in.
But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, do I have a C-spine injury? Okay, can I move my fingers? Can I move my toes? Do
Yeah.
I move my elbows? I'm going through like my whole
You're doing your whole
eval.
assessment.
And like
Or,
nobody
what
else
I
would know
do
to
with
do
the
that.
kid, and I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, this is so not worth it. And and I ended up like it was messed. I was like, I had to go. It was crap. But anyway, I felt like crap the next few days. But I'm like, okay. So from then on, I'm like it's stupid. Like that one weight. Like you knew
And
you could
why
make it.
is
Why
it
even?
so-
Exactly.
why is it so
Why
worth
is
it in
it
that
so
moment?
important?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
And I'm like, screw it. It doesn't matter. Like just drop it. If it's not there, just drop it because
Yes.
you can try it again. Maybe not on a platform at a competition, but it doesn't matter. We can come back another day
Right,
and try it
right.
again. But it's not worth it. Like, and I look back and I'm like, man, you were so stupid. Like, you know better. But that's why, like, I feel like you should, like you said, use your coaches to the best you can, because I can guarantee you, like, you know stuff and I know stuff that probably don't even overlap, and we have stuff that overlap because we took the L1s and the whatever L2s, but like there's some stuff that you probably learned, like you did CrossFit before you got to Tidewater, right? And then I did it in Charleston, and she did it at
all kinds of
Thank
places
you.
up the road.
and so like you learn different coaching cues and techniques and all this different
Yes.
stuff, and so we all have a whole library of information that we could give you. Just ask, and that's like try. And if stuff might, like if you ask me and the cues I'm giving you aren't working, and then go to Chris. I'm not gonna have my feelings hurt. Like
Yeah.
that's fine.
I've literally passed people on to other coaches.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, I'm missing something.
Yeah,
here,
we're
I'm
not
not
meeting.
connecting. Yeah.
So-
and then when they figure it out, I'll ask how, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And now I've learned too.
Yeah.
You know, because there's other stuff that's cool. Like
I think about that a lot too. Like, and this is one reason why I like coaches taking classes, like, regardless of what your programming is like, I have learned so many small things for me as a coach taking other coaches' classes. Like, cues that I would have never used, but once I heard, I was like, that is, like, brilliant. And that works for me. Hopefully it works for someone else. And, like, I know people do this. Please try not to, like, cherry pick classes based upon the coaches that you like. And I'm not saying, like, you have to do this every week. You need to go to a different class with a different coach. Like, if your schedule is the way it is, like, that's what you got. I'm understanding. But, like, there's so much to be learned and so much value added when you can see Chris coaching, when you can be with Kelly coaching, when you can be with Paige, even, like, our younger coaches. Like, they all add something different. And even as coaches, we need to be aware of that, because just like we're all saying, like, I have told someone a cue 15 times. Or I can remember a specific time, a new girl was at CrossFit Unraveled, and I forget how Drew was, like, explaining the kettlebell swing to her, right? But, like, one of the biggest things in kettlebell swings is people get real squatty.
Yeah.
And that's what they think they need to do. And I said, hey, your hips need to stay at the same height
Right.
the whole way through.
I say hinge.
Yeah. Or, like, same, I'm like, stay on the same plane.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, it immediately clicked with her. And
Yep.
it's like, Drew had never, I'm sure he had said that before, but at that moment that wasn't connecting with him in his mind. But even small things like that make a huge difference. And also how they're going to feel and how they're progressing, because they're like, in their mind, they're like, shit, I just got that. Okay, cool. What's the next thing?
Well, and also, like, the different cues work, and so if you, like, if a cue doesn't work for you, sometimes an athlete might not be comfortable. Like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yes,
You know?
you have to say that. Yes.
And so,
yes.
like, and if you don't say that, I don't
I'm
know.
gonna think-
Yeah, like, and I mean, now, if I say it 2 or 3 times and it doesn't work, like you said, you give it 2 or 3 times and nothing changes, then I'm probably going to know it's not working. But also, like, I'm not going to, believe me, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Tell me if it doesn't work. I need to find something else. Okay, I'll work on it.
Absolutely.
That's
my job.
Yeah, exactly. And so, get what you pay for. Like, you pay for a service, you pay for. I mean, you.
Yeah, you want to complain about how expensive it is? Use the services.
Yeah,
I'm
bug the
with
crap
you.
out of me.
Yeah,
Bug the crap out of me.
So, because I mean, we can all help you. I mean, I did CrossFit 3 days a week when I trained for a marathon. Like Paige, and I did Ollie, but like Paige competed in Ollie too. Like you know a lot about it. Like, we all have different backgrounds of things that we can always help you with.
Yes.
So use it.
And I will say, most of us are humble enough to know our limits.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
you know, I had my son up to the level that I felt I could get them, and then I passed them on to East Coast Gold, and it was like, now it's time for you guys to really dive in. Yeah, I could have just kept researching and finding different things, but like, why not take them to the professional? But
someone asked me,
but that happens with elite athletes. Maddie Rogers was in Florida.
Tom Brady had a private quarterback he always went to in the offseason for a tune-up every year, and all these top athletes, pitchers, hitters.
Someone asked me the other day about an injury, and I was like, I'm not the person to ask. Like, you need to ask Kelly. Like, I can't. I can give you some like rough information, right? But like, I'm not going to know what to tell you.
Because sometimes you might be able to do it, but you don't know how to teach it.
No, absolutely.
So I just, I don't know. It's.
I think by and large, I think a lot of our athletes at our gyms have been really good, though. I've noticed of them asking or telling me, hey, I'm having problems with this. Do you have any ideas on how to fix this?
Yeah, can you help this?
Or I think as they get more comfortable with coaches, they're not afraid to say, hey, what do you think I should do for the workout? I don't have X.
I
will say that because
do this.
Because I always I will say the one thing and that's weird for me as an athletic trainer. One of the I always tend to forget, like, does anybody have any injuries? But that's
my gosh,
also,
I said that this morning. You weren't here this morning, but I said that.
But that's also because I think how I usually run my class before the workout, I either know or I go to every single person. I'm like, hey, what are we doing today? Hey, what are we doing today? Are we doing the workout or do we need a scale? Like, what are we doing? Is something bothering you? Like, I know certain people already, like, even before I started coaching, I know Rob had a shoulder thing.
Yes.
I know, like,
so in class with him.
You talk to people and then like, and so I know some people, but I still, like, even beforehand, hey, what are we doing? Are we changing rep schemes? Are we changing movements? Are we doing this? What are we doing?
Or you have to be that person that's like, hey, you should change.
And like you said, Justin, I think Justin is very, like, methodical when it comes to workouts, and that's how I am. Like, I'm very, like, okay, well, what's the number scale? Like, I don't, because a lot of times when people especially start out at CrossFit, they look at the workout and they look at the numbers, but it's like 5 rounds of like 10 or 5, 10, and 15. They're like, oh, those are small numbers. And I'm like, yeah, but 5 sets of 15 is 75 reps. Do the total math. Can you do that weight? Because I know, like, even you, sometimes you be looking at me like, are you sandbagging this workout? What you doing right now? And I'm like, yeah, but I was like, I'm getting there. I'm working my way back. I try and like add weight every workout.
You have a methodic approach to it, but I think,
but I'm also like, break it down into reps. Like, how many are you going to do each set? What are you doing?
Like, it works for me.
Stick with a plan, and then, like, on your last round, if you're like, man, I got the gas, I can go.
Yeah.
But like, you go too hot out the gate, and you're like, oh my god, sucking wind. You're in trouble, buddy.
As the athletes start engaging with the coaches, and the coaches engage with the athletes, right? And you get through a workout, say they can't do toe to bar, and you give them a scale. When they come around in the next week or two to do them again, and you're kind of, I like to run through and be like, hey, what are you doing? Because you know who can do them and who can't.
Yes.
You say, hey, what are you doing for toe to bar tonight? Hey, well, the reps are this. I was thinking I would do X amount of leg raises. Okay, sounds good, but let's do this. Let's think about this. And then and a lot of, like, athletes start to learn. They know what their scale is right now. And their goal. Like, we talk about these unrealistic goals, their goals become realistic because they know what's in their wheelhouse and what's not. You know, like my rule with somebody the other night, the parachute thing. I'm like, are you good with the dumbbells? Well, I think I'm going to start there. I'm like,
no,
you don't know my parachute rule.
Yeah.
And by the end of the workout, they were like, hey, good call. That worked. That was good. They're like, if I would have done 35,
I don't know the parachute.
So my parachute rule is this.
You don't do it, Kelly, so don't worry.
I'll see people with like
their
2 sets
safety
of
weights.
dumbbells. They're like, well, I'm going to try 35.
Oh, they started heavier?
But then I have those.
I hate
call that
it.
the parachute, right?
I'm like, pick the weight you want to do the whole time.
Because the thing is, I say that if you already have in your mind that you might have to scale, your probably chances are
You're
after one round, you're
to.
going to go, oh my God, that's too much. I have to. So why not? Because if you think, if you got a no-joke RX athlete, male doing 50-pound dumbbells, they're doing that first round super easy.
Yeah, that's a warm-up round.
Right.
Yeah, if you're
so
laboring the first round.
Right. So think about that.
You're laboring in warm-up.
Yeah. So if you got a 5-round workout.
Thank you.
Round 1, you're already hurting to do 10 dumbbell thrusters.
You're in trouble, big dog.
That first round should be easy. Second round is fine. Third round, it starts to, where are we at?
Today was a good example of that. That workout was like not a heavy or hard workout as far as like weights, but like, if you were uncomfortable in round 1, like, there's no chance you're going to feel any better in round 5.
And that's why I scaled the weight down and did 75 because 95 is a super easy overhead squat for me, but 15 of them over and over, when I know that double unders could be a good day, could be a bad day, I wanted to do better, bigger sets of double unders. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to back off so I know I can stay unbroken on overhead squat, and I can go super hard on double unders.
But that's the thing. That's the stimulus. Like what people like. This is a program where RX is made for elite athletes. So when you look at if it's like lightweight, they'll probably should be unbroken. Like, so you should be holding on to that barbell the entire time. So if you're not going to be able to do that and you're going to be taking a minute rest after 3 reps every single time, you're not getting the stimulus intended. And so like, that's what like that death by minute or whatever this early, Caitlin was like, man, you crushed me in those. I was like, well, I did 15-pound dumbbells. I was like, I needed to see how dumbbell thrusters, that's the first time I've done them since I had my son. And I was like, I need to know how they feel. And so like, I would rather you, even if you went a little lighter, like this workout, and you're like, man, that was too easy. Okay, well then add 5 at next workout, add 5 pounds or add 10 pounds. But like you said, instead of starting out with like 35 and then you're like 5 reps in and you're like, nah, I can't do it anymore. Like, no, just start out with a reasonable weight that you're not laboring. It's like, oh, and in the warm-up it should feel light, honestly. Not super light, but it should feel light, because then by the time you get to the workout and you've done all this other stuff, it's probably going to add like 10 to 15 pounds.
And chances are, if that one movement is completely crushing you, it's probably going to mess up something else in the workout.
Exactly.
Like if you got a triplet and you're doing 3 movements and this is just destroying you, and it took you 3 times as long to do it than it should. Now you're super tired when you get, and now you're just now you're getting time capped, and it's just creating all these issues. So you didn't even get the work done.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, is it a weakness or is it a strength? Like, if this is a workout that's a triplet, that's your jam. Like, you got 3 movements that you can do like solid, then you're probably okay. But if you have to look at the movements and you're like, movement 1 and movement 2 are a little questionable for me, that's going to be a rough workout for you. So you definitely need to scale. Like, don't think that because you're not clicking the RX button, especially in my old gym, they used to do this. Like, everybody always wanted to click the RX button, and I'm like, it's not about clicking the button. Like,
that's the natural ego thing.
I know, and you have to check it at the door.
Well, because
like,
there's the 2 things that in my mind, and I heard this from somebody, and I don't remember where it was, but the 2 things that give CrossFit a bad name are big egos and bad coaches, right? And they go hand in hand a lot of times too. And if you're not able to check your ego at the door, right? By and large, you go into the most average CrossFit gyms, the majority of people aren't doing the sexy things. Not everybody in a class. You might have some animal gyms where 90% of the people are doing ring muscle ups, but that's going to be super rare, right? You got to look back at what was your original goal.
Yes.
And those goals are going to change, and your whys, but you got to keep them realistic as you progress on your CrossFit journey. You know, and again, give yourself a friggin' break, man. Like, you don't have to like totally destroy yourself, because then how good are you going to feel about your workout?
And like people have said this before, right? They're like, if you are totally destroying yourself in the workout or class every day, like, you are not going to get better. Like, every day should be taken at like 75-80% maybe. There are only a few days, and like, if I'm telling you to go hard and fast, like, that's when you need to give me your all out, like 100%. But otherwise, like, my coach specifically told me, and like, I would say I'm probably the most competitive person at our gym, and like, if my coach is telling me that I don't need to go over anything over 80% right now, if my form starts to suffer, then stop. Like, I would like to think that everyone else should probably do the same thing. Like, it makes a big difference, and I think if you're beating yourself up, you're not reaching the goals that you've set for yourself because you're beating yourself up. Your mental state becomes trash. Like, you start hating being here. You start not enjoying it anymore.
Because you're not reaching goals either.
Right.
Like, and you feel like it's not working. Well, it's not working because
maybe it's not us, it's you.
You're like, you're burnt out. You're not taking rest days.
A rest day.
We have to tell people to go following programming. Like, there are people who do the gym's programming and then other programming on top of it, and then some, and I'm like they're not on the same wavelength. Like, you're like, we could be on a deload in CrossFit, and then you're doing another one and it's on a max out week, and you're not giving your body a rest. Like, it's okay if you want like that. Like, it's okay if you want to get better at things and work on them
Yes.
after, but like after class. But also, that's why we say use the coaches at the gym, because we know, like, we can look at the programming and other, like, what we're doing and what you would benefit from possibly working on that week or that day or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah.
But if you're like following somebody else's programming on top of ours to get better, like, it's gonna be rough. Like, I can tell you. And the only reason why I was able to do CrossFit on top of my Ollie while training was because my coach worked with CrossFit gyms, and so he knew. Like,
what
he
you were
was like,
doing.
and so like I only did it. Like, I would do Ollie Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I would do my Ollie, my Ollie in the mornings, my CrossFit workout Tuesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and then Saturday
blended
morning.
and
But
didn't-
yeah,
Right, they
and so
complemented.
and so it. But I wasn't. And I mean, now when I start cutting, I had to stop because of how the volume. But still, like, use what you have and don't like, just because you're like, oh, more hours in the gym doesn't mean you're
That's
going
a
to
huge
get better.
misconception.
Yeah, it
Christian
doesn't
had this
happen
good idea.
like
It was a
that.
couple years ago, but one of our buddies that was at our gym, he was an animal, and at the time we didn't release workouts till 8 p.m.
That
and
night,
it was
yeah.
the tradition of the
Yeah.
gym, just because people would cherry pick. Christian's like, hey, I think we should start telling Taylor, like, hey man, there's a workout coming Thursday, because he used to come pretty much every evening and on Saturdays, right? Well, he could hit a workout by Thursday where he's just wiped out, but like, it would be an awesome workout for him to go full send on, but
Yeah.
he'd be wiped out.
And you wouldn't know to expect
so
it. Yeah.
we would actually, there was a couple people, we'd start telling them, hey, look, I know for you, what's in your wheelhouse, there's a workout coming this week on this
Right.
day, so don't worry about like, do 75% tonight and back off a little bit. You're not, this isn't an open workout tonight.
Right.
Just work out, have a good time, and be ready for Thursday. And it actually benefited some of them people a lot to do that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
which is why I like, you can go ahead, our members can go ahead and see the programming for the week, can't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's up.
Monday
Our
or
next
Sunday
week's up.
at noon, I think most people can see it. Some people have like,
Oh,
I don't know.
in my client view, I can see all of next week already.
yeah, because you're under a coach profile.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
don't
have
know-
like a coach view and a client view.
yeah, but your account like in Wodify.
My bad, people. I told some of y'all I'll be looking a week ahead.
Well, I
You
think,
might not have
um,
access.
I think
Start charging for
Sorry.
the information.
you should
They
be
be
able to
texting
see,
me like, "What's next week?"
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kelly. I think on Thursdays, for instance, you can see all the way through Thursdays. If not, it's released Sunday at noon every
Okay.
week. But like, I tell people this all the time. Like, okay, so you don't want to come in and do the class. That's fine. If you're going to do your own thing, you should at least look at what we're doing. I've had people come in and do their own workout where they do like 100 wall balls, and then the class the next day that they show up to
100
has
wall.
150 wall balls. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of like your
That's
own
look at the whole
doing.
week.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to feel bad for you, but that's the point of following a program. Like cherry picking, skipping, mixing programs. Like, there's a reason why, like, those people that are selling those programs tell you to do their program.
in
It's
order.
fluid.
Yeah.
It's continuous. Like, it all like rhymes together. We'll say if you're going back and forth, you are setting yourself up for injury. Like 100%, I would like put my life on that.
See, I think also if people look ahead at the workouts for the week, I think it can help you reach your goals, because if you're, let's say your life dictates that you can kind of pick 4 days a week that you can come to the gym, right? Well, look at those workouts, and if you're like, wow, I normally don't come on Thursdays, but I'm really interested
In this
in
workout.
because there's doing a progression and I suck at that and I really want to get good at it. Well, maybe you can move your schedule around, and you're not
come on
trying
Thursday.
to, you come on Thursday instead of Wednesday.
Yep.
Like, I think that's a good thing, as long as you're not doing it to cherry pick to avoid things that you're not good at.
But
Like,
also, like, I don't understand how people. I mean, I guess I can understand it, but like, why would you cherry pick if you want to do CrossFit? Like, how? Like, why don't you want to get better? Because a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like a lot of stuff overlaps. So like the day that it was like, what is it, 30 muscle ups timed or
Yep.
something like
Yep.
that, and I know a lot of people probably didn't come that day. But okay,
Ego.
what are you trying to? What?
ego. It's
Yeah,
because
but
they don't-
also, but
they
the
don't
thing
wanna
is
they don't want to be defeated.
yeah, but the thing is, are you trying to get better at pull-ups? Because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you a scale version is pull-ups.
Yeah,
Or
1000%.
Or I
Or
can
dips.
guarantee you need to get better at dips or pull-ups.
Everyone needs to get better at both
So,
those.
so if you're not doing that, we're gonna work on that.
Exactly.
That's
We're
where
gonna
that-
have a
that's
scale
where that
version.
unrealistic goal
And
piece
so-
comes in. Sorry, I'm
Yes,
squirming
yes,
around.
yes.
No, you're good.
Hard
And
box,
like,
my butt's
and
getting
I
sore.
know, and like,
Yeah.
but like. overlap of, I don't know, like when we did pull-ups last week for accessories for Ollie, or 2 weeks ago, I was like, they were doing pull-ups, and I'm like, wrap your thumbs. Don't do this.
Gosh.
Wrap your thumbs.
It's
It's
for
not
this
just
purpose.
for safety, but I was like,
Yes.
it's lat engagement. It's the
Yes.
same thing as doing
Yeah.
hook grip on a barbell. Like lat engagement, wrap your thumbs. Everything like crosses over, overlaps in some type of
Yeah.
way. So like you
Absolutely.
might be cherry picking one thing. Like
That's
when we
gonna
had to
affect
do
your
rope
goal.
climbs. When
Yes.
like I can't remember her name. She partnered up with me, and I was like, she's like, I can never. And I'm like, think of the rope as a toe to bar. Don't use your biceps.
Use
Hang
your-
from the rope.
use
Use
your
your
trunk.
arms are straight, and then try and toe to bar your hands to your feet. Lock
It's
it,
so
and
true.
then stand up. Like a lot of it overlaps in
Yeah.
CrossFit.
And then you're
so,
like cherry picking stuff that's going to help you get to the goal
Yeah.
that you want to get to.
Again.
All because you can't see it on the surface.
Again, it's humility
yes.
and realistic goals.
I get why people cherry pick, but
Yeah.
I'm like, man, if you want to get better, like
You can't cherry pick
everything
and want to
works
get
with
better.
each other.
If you
It
played a
does.
sport, you did suicide drills. So any of us love suicide drills? No, right?
But they're in the open.
That probably yeah, no kidding. But that probably made your endurance better for whatever sport you were doing. Like there's so many things that you need to do for like the overall benefit of the sport, whether you think you're of yourself as an athlete or not. Like you're an athlete. Like you're in here and you're working on something to get better. Like chances are, if you're fitter all around, you're probably going to get to your goal a little bit easier as well.
Well, and so translate that also into a lot of this stuff when we translate it to like, because CrossFit is so about how it relates to real life, or like translates over into real life, right?
Yes.
So like at the
Do
high
you
school,
put your shopping cart away?
when I like,
yes. I
So,
hate when
like-
people
oh
don't.
my gosh.
at the high school, in many high schools, I feel like a lot of players don't squat all the way down. They barely reach 90. And then like so when I took over I taught a female weightlifting class without money because I was like pissed
They
that
need
they were
this,
getting left
yeah.
out of the dust. And a lot of the kids were like, why are they going why do they need to catch it in the bottom of a clean, or why are they going? And I was like, okay, so you play football, right? And you're an offensive lineman. I was like, somebody's going to pound your ass in the ground one day. Like, you're not going to beat every single person. I was like, and your hips are going to have to drop below your knees. And I was like, are you going to be able to get out of that position if you don't practice your squats below parallel? Probably not. And so, like, you know, I'm not saying, like, if you have a mobility issue, it's one thing, but, like, squat because you want to squat better to pick up your son, or you want to, like, pick up when
my
you
gosh,
move
yes.
all the boxes to go move into your new place.
Yes.
Or, like, whatever you're doing, like, all this stuff eventually does translate over. I remember they had that. I just to get back to the one commercial they had where it's like, do you
Where
need
the
to
guy
carry
was
your
doing the
vacuum, carry
kettlebell.
the vacuum up the stairs or
Yes,
something? He's like, this
yes.
is why we CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's so funny, but it's so true.
Haley, your story the other day about holding your son over your head while he was on a water slide. Like,
Yeah.
that's as
Yeah.
functional as
Like,
it
he was
gets.
like, I want to go. And I'm like, you don't even like getting in the small pool. Are you kidding?
And Kelly's
I was
like this,
I'm
holding
like
your
holding
son.
him like this. Like, his like knees got in the water. He's like, ah. And I'm like, bro. And he's like, again. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
like,
really?
this is why you CrossFit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure. And then I told her, I was like, why I CrossFit? Because we
Running
went
through
to
the
Magic
airport.
Kingdom.
Or, yeah, running through
And we
Magic
took the
Kingdom.
railroad, and it broke down halfway across. And
And
we
you
had to
had to
catch our
hike back.
shuttle.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you need me to carry him? He's like, no, I got him. And we're sprinting back to the gate because we have a half an hour to
Kelly's
get to
like,
our
"Give me that
shuttle."
baby.
Like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. Like, you just got to think about it. It's just like you
Yeah.
could cherry pick, but either you're gonna miss out on stuff that's gonna help you in other workouts and things you are good at.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, you have to. So the way I look at it is, when I was in undergrad, you know, you do your rotations and stuff, and you get graded on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the best. And I was a perfectionist, like my dad, like B's, A's. It was A's, and I got 1-5 in all 4s, and I was pissed. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was at the school all the time. I did my job. Like, I was always there. Like, he even gave me like a rave review. How do I have 1-5? And she explained it to me, and she was like, a 5 is perfect. A 5, like, nobody is perfect.
Nobody's getting
There is
5s.
always something you need to work on. There is always something. Like, nobody knows everything. There is nobody that knows everything. There's always knowledge out there to be like retained. Things change, whatever. And she was like, don't get comfortable. And so that's the way I look at it. Like, when you come in here, why are you cherry picking the workouts that you're not good at? Those are the things that you should want to come in and be like, I'm going to get better only if I work on it. I hate running right now. I used to run a 30-minute mile in
You used
high
to run
school.
marathons.
My
I hate
Helen
running
time.
too.
Guess who
Helen
ran this
time
week?
was
Yeah, but
like
I ran. I was
this
like,
guy.
8 minutes before my son with a heavier kettlebell, and it was 13 minutes last week or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
sucks. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get better if I don't do it.
Yeah.
No.
And then you're just gonna keep looking at it like, oh, I suck at this. I don't want to do it. Do it. This is the
Yeah.
only way
Yeah.
you're gonna get better.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good point because that was a decision I made this week. I was like, you know what? I've been avoiding running technically, because one doctor tells, hey, you shouldn't run because of your back or
Yeah.
whatever. I finally was like, you know what? I'm over it. I brought my running shoes
Yep.
with me and I did the workout and it sucked, but whatever. I didn't die.
I didn't die.
I didn't
I'm
die.
still here. Yeah.
And you know what? I've never been a great runner. Like I'm fat. I'm like Usain Bolt for 50 feet.
Are not
And then
fat.
no, fast. Like
Fast.
I'm like
I was
Usain
like,
Bolt.
what?
Like and then
I'm done.
like that's all I needed when I played football. Like I needed like 50 feet fast. But there was a time where I ran a lot and I could consistently run 5 miles or more.
Yeah.
Just at a fitness pace,
Yeah.
a 9:30 pace or whatever, just for fitness, just for exercise.
PRT.
Yeah, just running that. And I always ran a mile and a half in like 12 minutes, like 11:30 to 12 minutes.
Right.
It's fine. And I was like, I just decided, you know what, screw this. I'm tired of making excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may not run all the time, or maybe I'll do 200 meters instead of 4, or maybe if it's 4 rounds, I'll do run, bike, run. But I'm gonna build back into being able to run because
Right.
it's I don't know. To me, it's just pointless. I didn't have like a back surgery or a knee surgery. It's just aches and pains from being older, and there is wear and tear from being 30 years in the military. But there's no reason I can't get it back, or at least do the best.
Yeah,
I
but
can.
if you progress
Right.
like you should, like you're not gonna go out and just run like the mile and
Right.
try and
Or run
like,
a half marathon.
But you're like, okay, I'm gonna do 200s this workout, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna I didn't have any pain or issues, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
do 400s.
Because it was only a couple
Like,
years ago, like we'd test our mile time. I was still just a sub 8 mile.
it's not bad. at
I'm
all.
good with that at my
So,
age. So there's no
yeah.
reason I can't get back to around that.
And
that
all of these
time.
things, like they just like we talked about, like the community overflowing outside of these 4 walls. All of these things like overflow into your life. Not only how you approach your life and like what you're comfortable with being okay with, but like just the quality of your life as well. Like
Yep.
nothing that we do in here, like in my opinion, can't be related to something out of here.
Yep.
Like it's all relative to how your life is set up, and that's why CrossFit is such a good, I think, sport, business, lifestyle, we'll say, because everything, if you cherry pick here, literally 1 hour of your day, what else are you cherry picking
Cherry-picking.
in life? Like, let's be honest, like,
And that's what his
look in the
post was about.
mirror. Yeah, like and just like you said, like it's an ego thing. You're never going to be where you need to be if you're making those decisions as something as simple as 1 hour of your day. Like, think about that for a minute. Like, the lowest level of your day, you're cherry picking. I would hate to see when you have a big decision of something that, like, inevitably is going to happen, something hard in your life, and you have to make that decision.
So, a good question to constantly ask yourself is, what will it cost? Every decision requires a trade-off. The payment can come in form of time, effort, attention, or money. Want to be great? What will it cost? Want to cheat yourself? What will it
What
cost?
will it cost? It's so true. And this is, I think, good for our topics too. Like, what is you have to find balance. Like the cost, the cost in here could also affect the cost out there, right? Like, that's fine. We were just talking about before the podcast, right? Spending so many hours in the gym. What does that affect? What does that cost my life outside of these walls?
Yeah.
And like, what's the trade-off? You have to find that balance, whatever that looks like for you at any given point of your life. It's gonna be different. Like, none of us are at the same point we were when we were 15 or 10 or 20 or whatever. Like, you have to find that balance of right now.
Very true.
Yeah. I think that's the toughest one for people, is finding the balance. Like, once you're in here, you're in here. But then finding the balance and how it relates to your life. Like I said, I'm not doing ring muscle ups when I'm done being competitive. I just don't care enough. I really don't. Like, and I hate saying that. Maybe it's because I'm not good at them. I'll take my ego pill. Like, if I'm good at something, obviously you
I'm
want
not
to do
saying
it.
I want to do them all the time.
Yeah,
I
but I
just
just
want to
wanna be able
get
to do
one
one.
back after I get
Yeah.
my son, and I'll be good.
No,
I
and
don't
that's
need to do 'em.
That's a
But-
good goal. Like,
I think
there's
your
no
goal should be
need.
to do one with your son on your back.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, no.
You better start quick, 'cause
Right.
as bigger as he gets. But that's just like, that's my thing, right? Like, I'm like, I don't see the point. And because I didn't do the small things when I first started trying to be competitive, my shoulders and my elbows hurt me a lot. Like,
Yeah.
that's just something that's not a value add to me after the fact of being competitive. So, like, can I do a couple? Probably. Am I going to try to do 30 per time?
Well, let's be
No chance.
realistic. We do, when we say that, like, things we do in the gym, in a CrossFit gym, relate to real life.
Yes.
There are a few movements that, like, does it really?
Yeah.
But they're just sexy and they're fun.
like
yeah.
like a ring muscle
Correct.
up, pistols, strict handstand, maybe handstand push-ups. So there are a few, but they are fun to do. There is a value add,
Allie
but again,
asked me about pullovers. She was like, "When will this come in?" And I'm like, "Oh,
well, some of these things will never come into play unless the zombie apocalypse and we're
Yeah,
doing
right.
some wild stuff.
We're doing some crazy
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's so true. That's a good point. Like, pistols, I don't think are a great. I mean, I don't think they're a great unilateral movement for the average person. Like, GHD.
that's actually what jacked up my hip."
really.
We were doing snatches and pistols.
I believe that. Like, there's so. I'll
That's
get
what-
on
hey,
that tangent another day.
Froning talks about it. The OG, he doesn't
Yeah.
do pistols unless he has to.
Unless
in
I
a
have
workout,
to.
because they're just not.
And like,
it's
let's
just
be
not
honest.
worth
Did
it.
we see pistols at all this year?
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna put them in the open anymore. Honestly,
I don't think so either. I think that jacked people up. And it's not like, again, it's not valuable to the people that are signing up from the open for the open, right?
Well,
Like,
what is it testing to?
thank you. Like, your elite athletes are going to do whatever you give them faster than all of us,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Because I could, if you really want to test that, I could test that by having somebody do a single leg or like a box step up that's
Ooh.
high.
yes.
You're still getting that
Yes.
same
that's what I do for
angle on your hip.
scaled.
Yeah.
Yep. I do that too. I'm like, if we're thinking of unilateral movements and you don't want to do pistols,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to force you to. Like, then I don't think that should be a goal of yours for most people.
Yeah,
Like,
especially if you get the 55-year-old person comes in here, has
when
never
are you
worked
squatting
out.
on one leg?
Yeah, like where's my benefit at? Like
No.
if they're a freak of nature and by over time they learn it,
Yeah.
okay, cool. But like
The
right out the
safety
gate,
risk
I don't want you
factor,
doing
too.
that. Yeah. Give me a good proper air squat first,
Mm.
and let's get you doing that. Let's get you. I
I'd
wanna
rather you
see
do a Bulgarian split squat, quite
Right.
frankly. Like,
Yeah.
something unilateral that forces you to work on your balance, for that matter, too. Like, so many things I could
See,
go
all these
about
things
with that.
revolve around realistic goals.
Realistic
like,
goals.
What am I trying to do?
Yeah.
And
This
what's
is
my
the second
ultimate goal?
podcast where we've talked about that,
Yeah.
so it's important.
Somebody asked me one time, they were doing their air squats and they kept putting their hands on their legs. I said, hey, stop putting your. They're like, well, why? Like, what would it matter? I was like, okay, what if, unrealistic, but what if I don't know, one of your arms are broken and you're at home alone
pick
and you got to
something
you got to get on and off the toilet.
You know
I said, let's
what?
be real.
Are you
You
gonna
should
do
be
this?
you should be able to get on and off the toilet or on and off the couch
Without hands.
Look how many people listen to people when they get off the couch how that don't work out. They're like, ugh, like
They
it's
use
this
the arm
big,
rest.
like it's a
Guilty.
big struggle. But in reality, you don't need to. Right? If
don't
I told
no,
you
no,
you
no.
can't, you
No.
can just get up off the toilet.
Look, the
You
only
could
times
just
I've had
get
to
up
use the
off-
handrails in those bathrooms is after a really
Not
heavy
after
leg
squat
day.
days, but
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, that's a little bit different,
yeah.
you know. But
you
like,
shouldn't need. I agree.
No.
It's so true. And again, it's all relative to functional fitness outside of these four walls.
Well, so I use this as an example with some of my students in like both my grandmothers. My mom's mom walked every day, like just to walk. Even if it was around the block, she always went for a walk. My dad's mom wasn't really that active, didn't even go on walks. She was in a wheelchair the last like 10 to 15 years of her life. My mom's mom walked till the day she passed. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Like 4 or 5 years, walked down the aisle at my wedding. People would have never known.
Yeah.
Like she was still like, you know. And so, like honestly, for me, like I know I have the body type of my dad's mom, and so that scares me because I'm like I want to work out because I don't want to be wheelchair ridden. I want to, like, I want to be able to be here and do things with my family as long as possible. Like, and so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, right, like I'm competitive, or I want to start. If I can be an Ollie again, I will. I want to be, but also eventually, it's just gonna be. I just want to be
it's just gonna be maintenance.
fit enough,
yes,
to
to
just
play with my kids
Yeah.
and my
Yeah,
grandkids.
to get through like life and not have
Life's
to
hardship.
need assistance from
You know who's
whatever.
a good example of this? Hope at the AGA South. Hope had hip surgery, I want to say 7 weeks ago, this week, and was squatting below parallel with 85 or 95 pounds.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
That's awesome.
And she just had hip surgery.
I told her recovery probably wouldn't because she always is
So
working
much
hard.
faster.
That's awesome.
And it's like, that's that's where we need to be realistic, right? Like, I don't know how old she is. I think in her 50s, maybe in her late 40s.
Probably. She's got 2 boys in college.
2 boys in college age, yeah. So it's like, that is a huge win for her. Let's just say she was working and she couldn't go back to work till she got better.
Yeah.
Like, you're extending your time without pay, we'll say, from 7 weeks to maybe 12, 15. Like, granted, surgeries have come a long way, but still, like, who would have thought? I mean, she was almost in tears. She was so happy that she squatted below parallel 7 weeks after hip replacement. I mean, that's what matters. How, again...
I might have cried if I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Hope, don't you be doing this to me right now. I'm emotional. There's a lot going on.
I'm a sympathy crier like I'm a sympathy puker. So it's the same thing. So lock it up.
You keep it together. But it's like, that is what CrossFit is good for. That should be your goal, to be able to face life's hardships, whatever they bring.
Because they're going to happen. And the more fit you are going in, we learned about that in college. Like, the easier transition is going to be coming out. And as you age, your body cannot bounce back like it used to. So the more things that you can control to keep yourself healthy, then the easier you're essentially making it for you down the road. Like I said, she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She also broke her back at 92, broke her hip at 90, and they did the surgeries. And most of the time, the older people pass away because of infections. But like but I mean, still, like, set yourself up. It's a long end. It's like a long game. It's not the short game. Like, I mean, competitive wise, yes, it's a short game. But otherwise, it's a long game. Like, that's why you're here. And the money is an investment in yourself. Like, for fitness. Like, why can you spend $1,000 on an iPhone and you can't spend $145 a month on your health?
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I love that. That's a great tagline. Right. It is an investment in yourself. Yep. And you might not see it right now, but I can guarantee you talk to someone like Bill, who started CrossFit in his 50s. He'll tell you that, like, it was the best investment he ever made.
Yeah.
Wish you'd have done it sooner.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine, like, I think I said this last week or 2 weeks ago, like, Bill said he's never felt better. He's in his 60s. And I'm like, isn't it sad to know that he spent 50-something years not feeling well? He didn't know. Yeah. But, like, now he's felt as best he ever has, and his life has passed that much. Like, make the investment. Yeah.
Put that on a shirt too. Invest in yourself.
That's a good shirt.
Invest in your health. Invest in yourself.
Invest in your health. Yeah. See, that's good. That's a good. That's a good way to close this out.
I like that.
So we covered a lot. It's been a long one.
Yeah. It'll be a good one though.
Yeah. Hopefully people like it, even though they're long. They give you a couple car trips to work.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like, look, I don't care if you watch it all at once. Just listen in the car. Yeah. I'm trying to get it on Spotify. That's been a nightmare, but slowly but surely, like, just give us 30 minutes of your day every day.
And we all wore all grit shirts without even talking, and they're all different colors. So, all right,
hey, new shirts. That's an announcement. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I did forget about this. I bought shirts. It's a long story, but there's a lot of people in front of me because the shirts didn't get over there in time because the shipping didn't get here in time. Whatever. September 18th to 20th, I'll have the new shirts. So.
How much are they?
I don't know just yet. I'm waiting for the bill. There's some things that they couldn't tell me because of, like, the design that we wanted.
Are they all T-shirts or are they tank tops too?
Got a couple tank tops and T-shirts again.
Tank tops just for the girls?
I mean, if you want to wear a crop tank top, that's up to you.
I don't. What colors are they? What do we got?
They're like a heather. So we got the OGs, this color back.
That's what I need, one of those.
A heather mauve, which was the pink color. Then we got a lilac color.
I saw the lilac.
What is lilac? Can you?
It's like a purple.
Okay, that's what a man would say purple.
Yeah, I was trying to think if I could find something. Like
that's what I thought you were going for. So I was
lilac color. Okay. And then we got like a peach color T-shirt that I'm really excited about. I think it's going to look super cute.
Okay. So cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks, Kelly. That was
thanks
good.
for coming, man.
Yeah, man. I love learning about you. That was
fun.
Hope
to see you coaching more,
I was
too.
Trying to stay on tack because I have a lot of tangent stories.
No,
if anyone cares, they don't need to listen to the podcast.
We'll have you back on.
Yeah.
And hopefully see you coaching more, too. I enjoyed your Ollie class I took. That was fun.
Nice. I know.
It was a good
She's
time.
coaching CrossFit and Ollie next Saturday. lock it
The
in.
16th.
You're doing both?
Yeah.
Oh,
I told
boy.
her,
I know,
I was
I'm
like,
excited.
I know, that's what I told her. I was like, I wanted to take it this weekend. My husband had duty Saturday, so I was
Yeah.
like,
I'm gonna
unless he
take the
want me like
class.
carrying
I'm
my son
excited.
around with me, but I was like, yeah, I'll take him next, because I was like, I know how it is. I mean, when I ran that gym in Charleston, like sometimes you just need to get out of the gym, like a mental break.
I feel you there.
So I was like, I'll take it. I'll take this Saturday for you.
Well, we'll see you more on the floor, so go ahead and
Yeah.
take it out. You know what we say, right?
You got to
Okay,
give us
Mel.
our sign off.
Stay gritty.
That's it, girl.
Let's
All right.
stay
See you guys later.